Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Across from me is the fabulous producer, Carlene Bragg.
Hi, Nick.
How are you doing today, Carlene?
I'm good. It's Friday.
It is Friday. We have made it. It is, you know, as I mentioned yesterday, holiday weeks are always, it feels like the longest week.
It's short, but it's long.
Short, but it's long. And a lot has happened this week, a lot in the headlines, a lot that we've covered here locally, a lot across the country. We stay pretty busy here on Live Impact News, and thank you for being a part of this news journey with us as we learn a lot of things in real time, as we did, especially yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to some of our top headlines, some of the things that we're following today. So take a look at this. These are our top headlines. We want to get to our first one. Joseph McNeil. Today we are remembering the life of Joseph McNeil. He was one of the four North Carolina A&T college students whose occupation of a racially segregated Woolworth's lunch counter 65 years ago helped spark a nonviolent civil rights sit-in protest across the South. He died yesterday at the age of 83. Joseph McNeil is somebody, again, a part of the Greensboro Four. I remember interviewing Joseph McNeil. Mm-hmm. It's probably 9 years ago at this point, when North Carolina A&T on February 1st, they have the celebration. They have a big statue of the Greensboro Four on campus. I had the pleasure of talking with him back then. And even growing up, that was part of the curriculum. We took
Yep.
a field trip to the International Civil Rights Museum, which is the site of the former Woolworths department store lunch counter, and they do the reenactment.
Yeah.
A great museum, check it out. But Joseph McNeil, a giant,
Yes.
not only in the state and the triad, but across the country for the work, along with the 3 other students, did to help spark the civil rights sit-in protest across the country 65 years ago. To switch gears in energy, Panthers season kicks off Sunday. That's our next big headline. The Panthers take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you haven't, do yourself a favor and watch. We're still figuring out the name, but we'll go with Eugene's name.
Y'all are workshopping it.
The Bald Brothers Panther preview.
That's awesome.
I
really hope it sticks.
The Bald Brothers Panther preview. Myself, Eugene Robinson, Carlene Bragg, who is
I'm
not
here.
bald. Who is not bald.
Or brother, but I'm here.
I got to give Carlene a shout out. Carlene is doing her thing, producing, doing more behind the scenes stuff with the show. So you don't want to miss that. It's posted right now on our digital platforms.
Who knows? You might see it here.
You
haven't
will-
loaded
yeah,
up and
we
seen it.
you probably saw it this morning during the 9 to 11
Yeah.
stream, which is pretty cool to see myself as I walk through the door. I said, "Look at Nick," and just a heads up. There's a pep rally tonight.
That's right.
Valentine, the bowl at Valentine. I always want to call it the Valentine Bowl, but it's the bowl at Valentine.
Yeah.
That's where the pep rally is happening. Carolina Panthers are throwing it. Carlene, you gonna go to the bowl?
I'm not going to go to the bowl. Are
think
you going to go to the
Turkey-
bowl?
I think Turkey
Turkey
will
would have a
go.
great time.
I'm not gonna go.
You are the Panthers.
As a super fan, I don't go to a lot of Panthers events. I don't.
It's like you want to jinx it kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of like how you and Jeb are with your college teams.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to, and with the
Yeah.
Bills, and 49ers.
Very superstitious.
Y'all don't do a lot of hooting and hollering.
No,
about
no, because it's superstitious. Because the minute
Yeah.
you do that, that's when
Yeah.
it crumbles, and then
That's-
and then it's your fault.
Yeah, so I try to. It would be different if I lived here and I wasn't a Panthers fan. I could
Sure.
enjoy it a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I'm just always on edge
Right.
as a fan. So, so yeah, that is happening tonight. If you want to stop by, I believe. Did we?
Game kicks off. It says
5 to
doors. What time is it?
5 to 7. I was
5
gonna
to
get
7.
5 to 7. So that's a good time window. Good way to spend your day, your evening, on a Friday. Kick it with the Panthers.
Yeah.
Final headline: Carlene gets the splish splash maybe later today. This
Potentially
weekend.
tomorrow. I might be going out on a boat. I will update you. It's a might, but I've also heard there's
Isn't it
storms
supposed to? I was about to
in
say.
the forecast, so it
Oh,
might not happen.
Carlene, your
I
luck is not
know.
great
It's
when
not
it comes to your record is not great when it comes to boats in summertime.
not.
This year, I
This
can't say overall,
year.
but this year it is going to be in the low 90s.
Yeah.
Today, tomorrow, this weekend, also potential thunderstorms. There were some thunderstorms that moved through the area
Last night.
Last
Did you
night,
hear it?
I heard it.
I heard it too.
And you know what I did? I went straight to sleep. It was a great pacifier. There was a delay on the football game, so
Yep.
I was like, it's bedtime.
Yep.
I made it to halftime of the game.
Right.
So. Yeah, Carlene gets a split splash.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
but,
this is the last stretch of 90-degree weather that we deal with this year.
Sure.
As next week's forecast looks pretty good. But why you don't want to hear the forecast from me? Let's toss it over to Majestic Storm for a look at your full forecast.
Well, good Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and let me tell you, it's going to be beautiful today. I'm talking about plenty of sunshine, but those temperatures are going to feel very summer-like with daytime highs climbing back into the 90s. With that added humidity at times, it's going to feel right around 95 degrees, and we do have a small chance for a stray pop-up shower or storm, but those scattered rain showers and storms, they will increase as we're heading into tomorrow, especially for the later half of the day on Saturday. By Sunday, a strong cold front sweeps across the Carolinas, and back behind it, it brings in cooler air, which means our daytime highs on Sunday, they'll only rise into the upper 70s. If you have plans for the rest of your Friday, this is how the day plans out. It's going to be nice, sunny skies for most of us, and again, a small chance for a pop-up shower or storm, and any of those storms that could develop would likely happen in the mountain locations later in the day. But if you're out there in Banner Elk, talk about a beautiful start to your Friday. 75 degrees this afternoon, very comfortable in Blowing Rock as well. As we're looking towards the foothills, we had a lot of fog this morning, but by this point, everything is really mixing out very nicely. 86 for your high today in Hickory, 87 for Morganton, and then right around Charlotte, plan for 92 degrees for our high, 92 in Lincolnton as well. Statesville, upper 80s today. With that added humidity, feeling like we're back into the upper 80s and low 90-degree temperatures for that area. If you're picking up the kids after school today, it's going to be a warm one with temperatures back into the upper 80s, low 90s, but with the added humidity, remember, a few degrees warmer. Could be a good afternoon to send them outside to play, or if they have any after-school sports activities, make sure they're prepared for that heat and humidity. Isolated chances for a pop-up shower or storm today, becoming much more scattered in nature for tomorrow, though. I do want to touch on this, though, because the Storm Prediction Center has this area highlighted in orange, meaning that there is a medium-level risk for severe weather outside of our viewing area. However, parts of the mountain locations, we do have that low-end risk today. That means if one of those storms does decide to develop later on today in the mountains, it could quickly become strong to severe. So with that, watch for a brief heavy downpour, gusty winds, frequent lightning, and it is going to be very isolated, meaning not everyone will actually see it. Here's our futurecast. This is what radar could look like. Now showing the possibility again of that passing shower or storm later on in the day today, and then kind of breaking on apart as we're heading into Saturday. Saturday morning starts out beautiful with sunny skies ahead, and then for the later half of our Saturday, if you have anything planned, just make sure you're aware that the possibility of some active weather, it's a bit more likely. Coverage is going to be about 50%, so meaning at least 50% of our viewing area going to get some scattered rain showers, possibly a thunderstorm or two, so it could be a little bit inconvenient if you have any plans. Now, it's going to be beautiful tomorrow. I know many of you're going to want to be out on some water, cooling down, because it is going to be a hot one, but make sure you are aware that later on in the day, we could have some stormy weather. Cold front again swinging on through as we head through Saturday night and into Sunday. That's going to drop those temperatures. I mean, look at this. This is over the next 10 days, 2 back-to-back days into the 90s. By Sunday, upper 70s, and that trend will continue into early next week. So if you're looking for more fall-like conditions, it's on the way. Not quite, but it's surely getting close. 92 today. Get outside and enjoy it, especially if you like that heat and humidity. Today's the day for that. Overnight lows tonight dipping down into the low 70s, and then by tomorrow, 90 degrees with those passing showers and thunderstorms. Stay close to the WCNC weather team. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest throughout the weekend.
All right, so that is a look at your full forecast. 90 degrees this weekend, and then by Sunday, we're back down to the 70s. I like it. I will take it. So, yes, Carlene, you will have to deal with that.
I'll deal with that.
Yeah.
I'll deal with that. You'll hear about it on Monday.
We'll hear about it more on Monday. All right, so let's get to something live. So happening right now in the Chicago, Illinois area, we're hearing from Illinois senators after the Department of Homeland Security said they plan to use a Navy base near Chicago for immigration operations. Let's take a listen in to what these senators are saying right now.
As far as, and the senator touched on this as well, as far as crime in our communities, if the president wanted to focus on the crime, the states with the most crime, 8 of the 10 states with the highest crime rates are Republican-led. Right? But it's not a Republican or Democratic issue. We need to address crime in our country. We need to make sure our communities are safe and secure. If the president wants to work with us in Congress to make sure our communities are safe and secure, he could release the $158 million he's holding up to address gun violence in this country. He could release the $800 million he is holding up to help our communities, our police departments, protect our communities, to fight violent crime, to invest in those communities. We need more social workers in our schools. We need more police. We need more first responders. That's how we fight crime. not sending in National Guard who have a mission to protect our nation in other ways, to go into our cities and terrorize people, but working with our communities together, hand in glove, investing in our first responders, giving police the resources, the people, the training, the resources they need to keep our communities safe. That's not what this administration is doing. They're deflecting, trying to keep the eye of the American people away from the damage they're doing to our economy. Costs aren't down, to our security. Watch what's happening around the world. That's what we should be focused on. This administration should not be sending National Guard to Chicago, but to be working with Chicago and other cities around the country, making sure they're safe and secure. So it's now my privilege to turn it over to the mayor of North Chicago, Leon Rockingham.
Thank you. Let me just echo what has been said. Again, I'm Leon Rockingham, the mayor of the city of North Chicago. I want to thank Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, and Congressman Brad Snyder for being here and showing the light on what's going on at Naval Station Great Lakes. Again, you know, our biggest concern is making sure the men and women at Naval Station Great Lakes get the training that they need to protect our country. Again, it's been echoed. Naval Station Great Lakes is the only recruit training center in the United States based here in the city of North Chicago. North Chicago's concern is to be able to make sure that our city continues to be safe, that no one comes in and tries to deport any of our citizens. As you see right here, because of what has happened, I've got my patrol, my police department out where we could be other areas being throughout our city to be able to patrol throughout the city of North Chicago. So I just want to say thank you to both senators and to our congressmen for what they have done for the city of North Chicago to continue to make sure that we continue to be safe. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Senator Durbin.
Questions?
You mentioned having things written down. Why is that important?
Well, I think several points that were made need to be memorialized. The starting date, pardon me, starting date and the end date is one of those things. Whether there'll be lethal weapons allowed on bases and other, no detention facilities. There are images of what's going to happen on this naval base that are wrong, based on the agreement that has been reached. We think it's best to put it in writing.
There's a Homeland Security official that said over 400 people were recently detained during an immigration enforcement action in Georgia. Is there any concern that would happen in our area?
Well, I'm concerned it might happen, but I don't think it will involve Great Lakes in any capacity. They've made it clear that they don't have any housing or any capacity to detain, so I hope it doesn't happen anywhere, but I don't believe it could happen here.
Senator, did you get any insight from the conversation this morning about whether the ICE and DHS folks will be targeting other communities besides Chicago?
No.
But we know that the ICE unit that was in action in Southern California, they are on their way to Illinois. How concerned are you about things perhaps going sideways here in Illinois?
Very concerned. The reason for the meeting was to get some clarity. If you ask the average person what's going to happen at Great Lakes, they would have come back with an answer that might not be accurate at all. What we learned today was there are limitations to the relationship between the Department of Homeland Security and the Navy. They were spelled out in detail in a long briefing, very good briefing. So I think that's what we were trying to accomplish today. But no, I don't endorse that sort of conduct happening in California or Illinois.
When you talk about
can I add to that? I just want to say that on that, the fact that DHS refused to meet with us, they actually gave everybody the day off and they left the facility and they locked the doors. This is not the action of somebody that is proud of what they're doing, and this is not the action of somebody that is doing something legal, all right? Great Lakes met with us. Great Lakes Navy leadership were very kind and were great, were very open with us, but DHS fled. They fled and they're hiding, and that is a clear indication of how secretive they want to be on this effort, and so we are deeply concerned and we are going to stay on top of it.
Your thoughts then on the court action in California and the ruling there, and that it cost California $120 million.
It was a right ruling, but of course the question is, where does it apply? It certainly applies where the California district judge was presiding. but beyond the state of California to Illinois is a question. That case has to be appealed, likely will be appealed, and as it is appealed, I hope it will be confirmed at higher levels and then might apply to the nation. But it's a long process, and who knows what's going to happen in the meantime.
Would you suggest Governor Pritzker activate the Illinois National Guard to protect residents against anything ICE might be doing?
I'm gonna let Tim. Before Tim answers that question, I just want to touch on a couple things that were said before. What the Navy base has agreed to provide, Department of Defense has agreed to provide DHS is office space and parking with storage of non-lethal ammunition. That was laid out very clearly what that would be for a specific period of time ending October 5th. What we said, why is it important to have it in writing, is to make sure that that is adhered to. What is agreed to on a handshake, anyone who's dealt with President Trump understands, put it in writing, and even that's not enough, but we need to have that in writing, and that's why that is so important. The Navy personnel are not involved in anything else beyond providing office space and parking. That is the facilities. The question about, are we concerned of seeing people rounded up? It's not just Chicago, it's across the country. We are seeing efforts by DHS, Secretary Noem. It is a display of force to cause terror among communities. And yes, we are very concerned. It has to stop. And we have seen that they are going, they talk about going after the most dangerous. Governor Pritzker has been clear. We don't want dangerous criminals on our street. Everyone agrees we should take dangerous criminals off of our street. But we don't want ICE arresting random people, oftentimes including citizens, and deporting them, separating parents from children. This is not who we are as a nation. It is not acceptable, and all of us should stand up, speak out against it, and do everything we can to resist it. And Tim, I'll let you.
Tim, do you want to bring it down? Okay. No worries.
Guys, how's that?
So were the governor to ask me if he should activate the Illinois National Guard, my advice to him would be no. It is not an appropriate use of the National Guard. Again, this is political theater. This is an attempt to politicize our military for a wannabe tin pot dictator in Donald Trump. It is not the right use of the National Guard. And remember that if the governor activates the National Guard, he's pulling them from the training that they should be performing, that they are engaged in, to maintain their military readiness, to do the job that they are supposed to be doing, which is defending us, or to respond to things like floods and tornadoes, which the Illinois National Guard does very well. Further, if you activate the Illinois National Guard, if the governor does that, that is then clearly paid for by the state of Illinois. And we know that that is costing in California at least $1 million a day. So that would be $1 million a day that we would have to pull out of Illinois state budget. I would highly recommend the governor not to do that. I do want to say to the people out there, everything that is happening and it's ironic that the governors of some of these states are the ones with higher crime rates in their cities than in Chicago are sending their National Guard into Chicago, potentially, and they are sending them into blue states. What I would say to people is, these National Guardsmen and women are doing their jobs. They are patriotic. They're doing their jobs. They cannot say no to a legal order from the President of the United States. Until the Supreme Court says it's an illegal order, they must execute those orders. So please don't harass the National Guard. They're being pulled away from their family members. They're being pulled away from the training that they should be doing, that they want to be doing to protect and defend us. The fight is a political one, and we're going to fight that political fight on behalf of the people of Illinois. But the National Guard, turning one state's National Guard against another, is absolutely the wrong thing to do. What National Guards have done is actually mutual support, so that when there's a tornado in Illinois, it's the Missouri National Guard who comes across the river and helps us. When we had the great flood in '93, and we were out there sandbagging, it was National Guardsmen from Iowa and Illinois and Mississippi and Missouri, and all helping each other out. That's what the National Guard should be doing. The National Guard should not be on the streets of our city intimidating citizens. They should not be carrying weapons of war and being told that they should be pointing those weapons of war on our citizens. That is not the use of the National Guard. I will also want to add one more thing. In our conversation, I have a bill that I've introduced, but I asked today of the Navy to make sure that what they say to DHS and ICE is that when those personnel show up and they are on post, they better be clearly marked as ICE and DHS. As Senator Durbin mentioned earlier, they have now this procedure where they show up in fatigues that, you know, if you're military like me, I can tell what's a Navy fatigue uniform and I know what's an Army, right? But the average citizen doesn't. And they're showing up and they're not clearly identifying themselves with ICE or DHS. And what I'm saying is they need to make sure that whoever shows up on the Navy base, especially if they are in some sort of a camouflage uniform, some sort of a tactical uniform, it is clearly marked so we know exactly who they are. I also asked them to make sure that we support our children. Many of the military families' children go to schools both in North Chicago as well as a charter school that is on post. And many of those children have had family members deported. And I want to make sure that the military family members who have children on those posts, that those children are also protected, but also the children of the community are also protected and not fearful of going on post to just pursue their education. So there's a lot to this. But the Navy is working very closely with us, and I thank them for that.
Senator Ken, if I could just follow up what you said earlier about DHS fleeing and not meeting with you, does that suggest to any of you that perhaps the operation may not be waiting until tomorrow, but could be launching today?
I mean, we simply don't know, but it's certainly not the action of somebody who's doing something legal, and it's certainly not the action of somebody that is proud of what they're doing.
Senator, it sounds like you guys have had some limited conversations with DHS. Have you guys had any conversations with the White House?
No.
And we're hearing like roughly 300 ICE agents. Is that the intel that you guys have as well?
Yeah, 300.
Nothing came out of this meeting with the Navy to suggest the number involved.
But you didn't see anyone in that building, any ICE or...
It was locked up.
There was no presence or evidence of DHS. I think, again, what Senator Duckworth was talking about, the secrecy, the lack of transparency, the disinformation and misinformation that is sent is part of, I believe, the whole idea of trying to scare people, trying to keep communities on edge. The administration should be working to make every community in America feel safer and secure, more secure, and they're doing the exact opposite in communities that the president is targeting, and it needs to stop.
And in all their communications with us have been verbal. They're doing everything they can to avoid putting things in writing. So we're going to ask the Navy to put things in writing.
There have been ICE agents operating in Chicago for a while, so do you get a sense of what large numbers, like 250 or 300 agents, would allow them to do? I mean, would it be checkpoints or any sense of what that would be?
One of the consulates contacted us and said last week 50 people were deported in one day from Chicago. And so that is at a lower number of active personnel. If you double or triple the number of ICE agents, you can imagine the number will be deported.
I know you guys keep using political theater, but that theater obviously causes fear to citizens. What message do you guys have for those citizens who are in this Lake County region who have that fear? What's the message to those citizens?
We're going to be meeting with a group of those citizens immediately after this press conference for that very reason. I sense as I travel through the Hispanic areas of Chicago a real sense of frustration and anger and fear, real fear. They're not going to church, they're not shopping, some of them are not sending their kids to school. This is for real, and it's a climate of fear which has never been part of America and should be. I really deeply resent the president for doing this.
And we join them in fighting back, and we stand with them, and we're going to make sure we do everything.
I think the important thing is every single day, in the Senate and the House, Democrats are fighting to stop what this administration is doing. We're doing everything we can. Oftentimes it's not going to be seen on the front pages of the newspaper or in front of TV cameras, but we are standing up to this administration. We are calling out what they're doing. What every one of our residents should know, wherever they live, here in North Chicago, across Lake County, throughout Illinois, and across the country, is that we are fighting for them. What this administration is doing is wrong, and it needs to stop.
But we got to know also, let them know that they have rights, and let them make sure that they know their rights. And if there are a knock at the door, they do not have to answer that door. Unless there's an active warrant, they do not have to answer any doors. And also, let them know that from, I think most of the municipalities around Lake County, let them know that our police department is not getting involved with any ICE agents unless there is an active warrant. So I've told my police department that they do not get involved with anything that goes on with ICE or DHS. So
follow up, Rob. If there is an active warrant, then North Chicago Police.
You know, if it's an active warrant and there is a person that needs to be arrested, yes, they should be arrested. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is something that we will do no matter who it is. Gotcha. But as far as just someone coming to your door saying we want to come in, no, they should not answer.
I want to add to that. It's really important. If DHS is showing up with an administrative internal warrant, that does not qualify as an active warrant. Right. So people need to know what type of warrant, because DHS personnel, some of these ICE agents around the country have been knocking on doors saying we have a warrant, and they give you something, and it's actually an internal DHS administrative paperwork, and it's not an actual warrant. So be very careful when somebody comes to knock on your doors.
And I know on our website, I expect others, there is Know Your Rights information for people.
One more question.
Yeah, they, I've heard comments, but that they're not going to stick to Chicago, the ICE agents, and there will be actions in Lake County. Have you all heard anything about that?
I have not.
No.
We have no specifics.
Did you hear that Marines may be coming? Where did that come from?
I did hear that they might be activating Marine reservists, but I asked specifically, and Great Lakes could not confirm that. But I was not able to talk to DHS and ask them that question today because, again, they locked the doors and ran away.
When you guys talked about how they should be identifying themselves, are you talking about just on the base or in the communities? Because I don't. How would you?
Well, by law, they should always be identified. But I wanted in particular.
How could you guys hold them accountable for that?
Well, so what Great Lakes can do is when they come on base, they have to be clearly marked. That is one place that I think that we can make that happen. We can hold them accountable from the Senate side, which is languages we're fighting for. I've introduced legislation. By law, they already have to be identified, but they're not doing it.
Yeah, we have legislation in the House I'm supporting. Prohibiting masks, prohibiting covering of names and designations. You need to know who you're dealing with, and when there is a knock on the door, you have to know your rights, and you have to know who's knocking on the door.
Can I close with one point that I think is important? Every Thursday in that ceremony, which I've been honored to be part of, there are thousands of people who are participating, so proud of their daughters and sons who are now part of the United States Navy and gone through training. They're from all over the United States, and they come here, and we want them to leave with a solid impression that the Navy is standing not only behind their sons and daughters, but behind our Constitution. Let's do this and do it right and make America proud. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, folks.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there, you're watching as Illinois senators respond to President Trump, the Trump administration's plan to use a naval base in the Chicago area for ICE operations. They're responding, pushing back actually on the Trump administration and those plans. All right, so let's take a quick break. We want to take a break, 2 minutes. I promise we'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We mentioned it earlier. Joseph McNeil, one of the 4 North Carolina A&T students whose occupation of a racially segregated Woolworths lunch counter 65 years ago helped spark nonviolent civil rights sit-in protests across the South, died Thursday. That's according to North Carolina A&T State University. He was 83 years old. McNeil, who later became a 2-star general, he was one of the 4 North Carolina A&T State University students in Greensboro who sat at the local whites-only counter on February 1st, 1960. They refused to give up their seats, and again, this sparked protests all across the South. I have had the chance to, I'm from High Point, remember going to the International Civil Rights Museum, seeing the display, seeing the reenactment, actually covering the ceremony on February 1st on North Carolina A&T State University's campus that happens each year. This year on February 1st marked 65 years. And our very own Jay Monreal actually got a chance to go. I remember speaking with her about it and that experience, that powerful experience. And she actually got a chance to go to that ceremony this past February 1st, and also stopped by the International Civil Rights Museum in downtown Greensboro, the former location of Woolworths. So we want to go back, went back in the archives, and we want to play that story in case you missed it, of that experience there in Greensboro. Here's Jay Monreal.
These seats, now preserved in time, once represented segregation in America. 65 years ago, on February 1st, 1960, 4 North Carolina A&T freshmen sat down at this counter and stood up to injustice. Praise the Lord, I'm free. No longer bound. On a cloudy morning, voices rise at North Carolina A&T State University. The song of struggle and hope at the February 1 monument, remembering the pioneers of the civil rights movement.
It shaped my life in a way that I have no way to run from it. Yeah, right here.
Franklin McCain Jr. says his father would have been proud of the legacy he left behind.
My father was a very brilliant man, very strategic in his thinking, and my father was purposeful in everything that he did.
The simple act of 4 young men sitting at a lunch counter grew into hundreds, then thousands of supporters joining their cause of nonviolent protest. Within months, lunch counters across the South began to integrate.
And he talked about how he really wanted our lives to be better than what his was. And he wanted us to have every opportunity. He wanted people, all kids of color, to be able to have an opportunity to be able to get a good education, to be able to have a great job, and be able to buy a home and be able to take care of themselves.
People know about Greensboro because of this place right here and the actions that took place.
More than a museum, the Woolworths building in downtown Greensboro, where the A&T 4 sat at the lunch counter, now designated as a National Historical Landmark.
To have General McNeil to walk back into this building that is now recognized at the highest level for the work that they did as college students, young college students, it's one of the most powerful things that I could imagine.
Because of his father's courage, Franklin McCain Jr. says he had opportunities beyond his father's imagination and wants to see it passed on for generations to come.
I mean, it is ingrained in me to do what I can for my fellow man, to be helpful, to speak up when you see an injustice, to sit down, stand up, shout from the mountaintop, whatever it takes. I have a responsibility to be a voice for the voiceless, and so I live by that creed.
Praise the Lord, I'm free, no longer bound.
Yeah, and that was Jay Monreal's piece celebrating the Greensboro 4 there. Again, that statue is on North Carolina A&T's campus. It is it's synonymous with the university. When you see that, you know you have arrived at A&T. Brother went to A&T. my sister-in-law went to A&T, spent a lot of time on A&T's campus.
Yeah.
So they celebrate those men like none other.
Yeah.
So that's it was great that we were able to be there. 65th anniversary. So just being a part of that and learning that history, it's just wild to know that was 65 years ago. Not too far removed from that. So this morning we were able to get local reaction from those there in the Triad in the Greensboro area after the passing of General McNeil. So let's take a listen in. Our partners at NBC were able to get some reaction, some local reaction. Let's take a listen into that.
John Swain, the CEO of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, says it was nothing short of a shock to get that call early Thursday morning that Joseph McNeil, a giant of the civil rights movement, had passed away.
It was a tough bit of news to take in.
At the age of 83, retired Air Force Major General and member of the A&T-4, Joseph McNeil, passed away Thursday. Swain says McNeil leaves behind a legacy unlike any other.
They stood in here, 6 to 9 seats deep, waiting to occupy a seat. That is democracy at its finest.
On February 1st, 1960, 4 North Carolina A&T State University students, McNeil, Franklin McCain, David Richmond, and Jabril Kazan, sat down at the then white-only lunch counter at F.W. Woolworth's in Greensboro. Their actions were the spark for even more acts of resistance to combat segregation.
And the only way you're going to rekindle that spirit is having experienced it. Whether it's firsthand or secondhand, you need to experience it. Hear it from someone who has lived it, who has seen inequality and said, I want to do something about that.
All right, so let's take a step away for just a moment, just 2 minutes. We'll be back again in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovic. Carlene Bragg is here, super producer. All right, so I just looked at the date. So it's been about 2 months, a little over 2 months, 2 months and a day since President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful bill into law. It's a controversial bill. It sparked a lot of debate since and even before being signed into law. So RJ Monreal got a chance to speak with Republican Representative Ralph Norman, who also says he plans to run for governor in South Carolina, about why he is supporting this controversial law. Let's take a listen into that conversation.
All right, now here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus to the latest on the passing of One Big Beautiful Bill, the act which the Trump administration is now calling the Working Families Tax Cut. And just yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson touting the bill's benefits, saying he spent plenty of his time during August traveling his district. He got positive reactions. Today we are joined now by Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina's 5th District, which includes serving York, Chester, and Lancaster counties. Thank you for joining us here on WCNC Plus, Congressman.
Glad to be with you, Jane. Thank you.
Well, you supported this legislation while also raising, and I'm going to quote, serious fiscal concerns. Walk us through what some of those concerns are and why you ultimately decided to vote yes.
What we did, Jane, was I was on the Budget Committee, was one of the 3 that voted it down for passage, and the reason for that was to make it more conservative. Now, let me give you some examples of what we were battling for. One was to not allow illegals to receive a government paycheck in the form of a Medicaid check. Another one was able-bodied Americans who could work but chose not to should not be getting a check, a government check of any kind. Some of the credits, the solar panel credits should have been discontinued. The 7,500 electric car credit should have been discontinued, and all of these were what President Trump ultimately wanted. And they had nuclear credits. They had, I could name you 4 pages of credits that needed to be paused until we get this country back on a firm financial footing. The $35 trillion in counting is not going anywhere until we deal with it. So what we did, as we debated the bill, we came to an agreement. The House passed it. It went to the Senate. They put some things back in there that we just didn't like. And it's mainly the Freedom Caucus who were driving the conservative thoughts on this. So when it came back to the House, the president called us over, about 8 of us, and said, guys, what are you doing? We said, Mr. President, we're making it better, and we're negotiating like you wanted us to. And to his credit, he kind of walked us through the political process of if we made changes and if it went back to the Senate, then you had 3 senators that were going to block it. Tom Tillis is not running for office. He's no fan of the president. Lisa Murkowski's term will be past when Donald Trump leaves office. She's no fan of Donald Trump. Rand Paul is no fan of Donald Trump and will vote no. So those were the 3. What we risked, had we altered it, was no bill at all, which many of the senators did not want anyway, including the tax cuts. We were not going to let that happen. So when the president told us that, we got on board, passed it, and the rest is history. The country is better off for a tax cut plan that really truly benefited the whole country, and particularly my state of South Carolina.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the benefits then for South Carolina families that you're highlighting, including that tax cut. Who specifically is really going to benefit from this? Most.
Everyday working Americans. No tax on tips, had a limit of $25,000. Deduction of interest with cars that are made in the United States. It's child tax deduction. We would have seen, Jane, a 26% increase had we not passed this tax bill. And it really is a working class tax bill for all Americans. But in South Carolina, manufacturing is a big thing that it helped. For that farmer who wants to pass on his farm to a family and not face a inheritance tax, that the Biden administration would have cut that limit down dramatically. It was just a win for the American people. And I hadn't seen a tax bill like this, or a big, beautiful bill that was encompassed so much in my 8 years in Congress. But if you roll it back even past that, 35 years, 40 years, years, we've never had a Congress get together on this. He funded the border. What the Biden administration did to this country by opening the doors to every country is now being corrected. So all in all, it was a great win. Would I have rather seen more cuts? Yes. But we did what we could while we could do it, and this was the best that we could do, and I'm excited we passed it.
Let's talk about the implementation for work requirements for able-bodied adults on Medicaid. Can you explain some of these requirements, who would be able to go back to work, and then perhaps some of the safeguards in place for those who might lose coverage?
Yeah, and the work requirements are really important, but let me explain what that encompasses. When they say work requirements, it means 20 hours a week. Now, you think how many hours you put in on reporting, and most Americans put in far more than 20 hours a week. But the guardrails were 20 hours a week. It could be community service. It could be a variety of things. If you had, I think if you were over a particular age, it's only applied to, I think, 58 and under, or maybe 55 and under. They had, if you had any kind of physical ailment, for that single mom who was pregnant, they had waivers for that. So the safeguards were in place. But bear in mind, for your listeners, 20 hours a week, that's a low threshold. I would have rather seen 35 or 40 hours, but again, we couldn't get the passage of that. So you take what is possible, and don't let perfect get in the way of the possible, as they have always said.
Sure. I hear it's now the working families tax cut. Is that a strategic rebranding, and does it have more public support than, say, the One Big Beautiful Bill?
You know, messaging is, as you know, in this world today, is important. I do think the new name is more applicable, because that's what it is. If we hadn't have had anything else but the tax cuts part of this, it would have been worth passing. But we got legitimate cuts. We got, on the reconciliation, we got guardrails. You know, we had a $2 trillion cut. We had a 1.6 threshold, but it went up to $2 trillion. We had a 2.6% growth rate, because what this president has done is energized all sectors of our economy, particularly in South Carolina, and we have businesses that want to locate there. So all in all, I think the name does have meaning, and I think it's the right thing to do.
To your constituents who might feel a little insecure now, especially the low-income families, about losing possible access to health care or food care assistance programs, what is your message to them today?
My message to them is, if they analyze what was passed, it benefits everybody. The median income in South Carolina is $67,000. I think the poverty level is right at 30 for joint home, 30-some thousand. Bottom line, if you want a job, if you want to go to work, if you want to get an education, the areas to get that. What we're trying to do, and we've begun the process of, for that young American who is wanting to get ahead, wanting to apply their God-given talents, this enables them to do this. We're shrinking government. So anybody that has concerns, and I have had some, I mean, what our opponents on the left is saying, cuts to Medicaid, cuts to Social Security, which we couldn't do, and it was, throwing Granny off the cliff. That's just not right. It's a mischaracterization. They always use that, but look at the country. Look at the country now as opposed to a year ago under Biden or the previous 4 years. There's no comparison. I think if people were honest with themselves, it's a safer feeling now, and it's a feeling that you can invest in this country and you can find a job, particularly in my state of South Carolina and North Carolina.
And you said you'll keep fighting for the rest of the provisions that didn't make it into the final bill. For you, what are your priorities for any future legislation?
Well, we've got a pocket rescissions coming of basically a foreign aid. I think in this country we have been the world's keeper, and when you ask yourself the question, where's this money coming from? It's borrowed money. America needs to take care of America. We cannot be the world's keeper because we're not in a position to do that. I think we've begun the process. I think what the DOGE Commission did to identify those areas that money should not have been allocated. Should we allocate $3 million to show Sesame Street in Iraq? Should we allocate the $40 million for building walls in Libya and other countries? I would make the argument we can't afford that, and it's not fair to the younger generation as well as all Americans to keep that kind of spending. Bottom line, Jane, we've got a spending problem. We don't have an income problem, and we've got to tackle it now. And if not now, I don't know when we do it.
All right, last question, Congressman Norman. Looking ahead to the midterm elections, how confident are you in the working families tax cut? How will voters see that legislation benefit their daily lives? Will they see it by then?
Oh yeah, voters are already seeing it. I mean, they're voting with, you're seeing it in two ways. Those states who are not embracing the big beautiful bill or the things that Donald Trump has. You look at New York, people are fleeing, which once was a great state, and they're coming to areas here in South Carolina and the southern states. Look at California, totally overrun by government, and that's not America, and that's not the way this country was built. So yes, we're going to keep the midterms. We've got some great candidates coming up. I'll be working for candidates. And the left now, the Democrat Party is now the socialistic party of open borders, open crime, and that's not what's built this country, and I think the American people realize that.
Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina's 5th District, thank you so much for your time and for weighing in.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we want to come back out. We want to get to some breaking news that we've been keeping our eye on. Take a look at this. This is not the site of the accident, is nearby, but this is the backup, sort of what you're probably seeing if you are stuck in this. So right now there is an accident there that has shut down 3 lanes on I-85 South near exit 40. That's Graham Street. That's the Sugar Creek area. So I'm looking at the map right now, and so this is impacting, give you an idea of the areas, like the J.T. Williams area, Druid Hills North, Sugar Creek, up towards Amarillo Park. So this is a good stretch of backups. I-85, I mean, it's hard to avoid this coming into Charlotte. Definitely will impact you if you're trying to hop on.
If you're going to like university, anything like that, like it's going to take you a while.
It's going to take you a while. So again, this is I-85 South near Graham Street. You see the backup. We're working to get you a shot of the actual accident scene.
It's kind of, I have one, but it is very like, it's actually, this is probably one of the best it's looked. It's for some reason looks very glitchy.
Right.
But you can kind of see it.
And like we said, this 3 lanes.
3 lanes.
And it looks like involving a couple of tractor trailers. But again, this is a wonky shot that we're trying to.
It looks a little like Tron.
It's
a little like glitchy. But.
It does. So that is what we track. Where we're tracking high impact on traffic. I'm trying to see if there are any workarounds you can take if a drive-in seat has anything. I don't see anything right now. But again,
it's kind of one of those things. If you need to go, I mean, you kind of have to go to 77 to 45 kind of thing to get around.
But that's a major inconvenience.
Which is, you know, if you hit a certain point, you're too far in. You kind of have to wait till you get to an exit. But
and it looks like you see these cars right there pulling over there to the right shoulder, trying to get off. Yeah. Because I don't believe there is another. The 40 is exit 40 is that next exit, I believe. But yeah, it is a mess. Something you definitely don't want to see on a Friday or any day.
Part of town.
We're in the lunch hour window, so you might be going back to work from lunch, or you might be getting off of work early or trying to skip town early, headed south, and this is what you're up against. So we will continue to keep an eye on this. as the backup is still here, 3 lanes closed, a vehicle accident. It looked like from our camera that 2 tractor trailers were involved. That's just me doing the eye test.
Yeah.
And looking at it. But we'll get more information, and as soon as we do, we will bring that to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are following some breaking news there on I-85 South. We have a new shot. This is from our photojournalist, Kevin Wardlaw. He is on the scene there. So you can take a look at this. This is the crash. So we showed you the bird's eye view of the backups. This is actually the wreck involving semi-trucks. Again, you could see he's zooming in on that backup. There are cars stretched for several miles. Again, this is in the Sugar Creek area, but exit 40 is in the general area of where this accident has happened. So on your right, you can see the backup. The back, that is a lot of cars and there's a lot of traffic. And to your left, you could see that accident where emergency crews are right now. No reports so far of injuries or what caused this crash, but as soon as we get that, we'll make sure to update you. But again, you can see that semi is parked right there on the shoulder after that crash. Our photojournalist, Kevin Wardlaw, right there on the scene as troopers and investigators work to clear this out.
As we mentioned, this is near Sugar Creek area.
Yeah.
This is kind of be the I-85 near Tanglewood, all those kind of places. So.
And this backup is stretching from, I'm looking at the map now, from Druid Hills to Amarillo Park. So this is, you're talking about miles and, of backups of folks maybe trying to hop on, because this is, you can, if you head down, somewhere along this backup is 77. I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla.
Right.
Yeah, 77 is a long.
Eventually, yeah.
So
trying to get towards 77. I mean, the only other way, if you haven't even gotten on 85 yet, is just go 45 and go around.
Yeah.
To get where you need to go.
And
honestly.
this is a popular way for people to get to the heart of Charlotte, to Uptown, to South End, those parts. But yeah, you can see it right there, the backup. You can see that semi wrecked. And again, that is a shot right there from our photojournalist, Kevin Wardlaw. And again, you can see the backups from where that accident happened to where it stretches Again, we'll continue to keep an eye on this as we learn more information, and honestly, as it clears out, we want to bring it to you here live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, and
it
help
looks like
you.
there's fuel or some. You see that on the?
Yeah, I was looking at that. It looks like fuel. It looks like pieces of that truck were right there on the road. So
It's a hefty cleanup.
yeah, it's a hefty cleanup. You got to move that semi out of the way, and then you have to clean it up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then you see troopers right there. And I believe that is most likely road assistance, DOT road assistance. Let's get a check of the forecast real quick. So we're going to take a step away from this. Again, we're going to continue to keep an eye on this accident, but we want to get a check in on your forecast as you get your weekend started. Let's take a listen into Majestic Storm.
Well, good Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and let me tell you, it's going to be beautiful today. I'm talking about plenty of sunshine, but those temperatures are going to feel very summer-like with daytime highs climbing back into the 90s. With that added humidity at times, it's going to feel right around 95 degrees, and we do have a small chance for a stray pop-up shower or storm, but those scattered rain showers and storms, they will increase as we're heading into tomorrow, especially for the later half of the day on Saturday. By Sunday, a strong cold front sweeps across the Carolinas, and back behind it, it brings in cooler air, which means our daytime highs on Sunday, they'll only rise into the upper 70s. If you have plans for the rest of your Friday, this is how the day plans out. It's going to be nice, sunny skies for most of us, and again, a small chance for a pop-up shower or storm, and any of those storms that could develop would likely happen in the mountain locations later in the day. But if you're out there in Banner Elk, talk about a beautiful start to your Friday. 75 degrees this afternoon, very comfortable in Blowing Rock as well. As we're looking towards the foothills, we had a lot of fog this morning, but by this point, everything is really mixing out very nicely. 86 for your high today in Hickory, 87 for Morganton, and then right around Charlotte, plan for 92 degrees for our high, 92 in Lincolnton as well. Statesville, upper 80s today. With that added humidity, feeling like we're back into the upper 80s and low 90-degree temperatures for that area. If you're picking up the kids after school today, it's going to be a warm one with temperatures back into the upper 80s, low 90s, but with the added humidity, remember, a few degrees warmer. Could be a good afternoon to send them outside to play, or if they have any after-school sports activities, make sure they're prepared for that heat and humidity. Isolated chances for a pop-up shower or storm today, becoming much more scattered in nature for tomorrow, though. I do want to touch on this, though, because the Storm Prediction Center has this area highlighted in orange, meaning that there is a medium level risk for severe weather outside of our viewing area. However, parts of the mountain locations, we do have that low end risk today. That means if one of those storms does decide to develop later on today in the mountains, it could quickly become strong to severe. So with that, watch for a brief heavy downpour, gusty winds, frequent lightning, and it is going to be very isolated, meaning not everyone will actually see it. Here's our futurecast. This is what radar could look like. Now showing the possibility again of that passing shower or storm later on in the day today, and then kind of breaking on apart as we're heading into Saturday. Saturday morning starts out beautiful with sunny skies ahead, and then for the later half of our Saturday, if you have anything planned, just make sure you're aware that the possibility of some active weather, it's a bit more likely. Coverage is going to be about 50%, so meaning at least 50% of our viewing area going to get some scattered rain showers, possibly a thunderstorm or two, so could be a little bit inconvenient if you have any plans. Now, it's going to be beautiful tomorrow. I know many of you, you're going to want to be out on some water, cooling down, because it is going to be a hot one, but make sure you are aware that later on in the day, we could have some stormy weather. Cold front again swinging on through as we head through Saturday night and into Sunday. That's going to drop those temperatures. I mean, look at this. This is over the next 10 days, 2 back-to-back days into the 90s. By Sunday, upper 70s, and that trend will continue into early next week. So if you're looking for more fall-like conditions, it's on the way. Not quite, but it's surely getting close. 92 today. Get outside and enjoy it, especially if you like that heat and humidity. Today's the day for that. Overnight lows tonight dipping down into the low 70s, and then by tomorrow, 90 degrees with those passing showers and thunderstorms. Stay close to the WCNC weather team. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest throughout the weekend.
All right, so that's a look at your forecast. Let's check in with the Panthers because they kick off their season this Sunday at 1 p.m. in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. I'm excited.
Jaguars.
I'm trying to, hold in my excitement. One of Carlene's favorite players is playing in this game. She doesn't think I'm serious, but I'm serious. One of her favorite players from the great state of South Carolina.
If you're talking about Trevor Lawrence, I'm going to be really upset with
I was talking about Rico Dowdle.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
USC
I
guy.
thought you were talking about.
See?
I thought you were trying to troll me about Trevor
See?
Lawrence. Everybody knows
See?
I am a Carolina girl. I am not a Clemson fan.
I was talking about Rico Dowdle.
Okay.
I was talking about Rico.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
See?
I thought you were trying to troll
Thinking the worst of me, Carlene.
I thought you were trying to, because you like to stir the pot with both hands.
I was not stirring the pot, James. I was not stirring the pot. Anyway, the Panthers are playing the Jaguars. Rico Dowdle, hopefully he has a big game. Chuba Hubbard has a big game. Look, I've broken down enough of what is going to happen during the game. Eugene and I did that. You can catch it on our digital platforms. But I'm not the only one. I want to, show some love to Carboni, our sports team. They're doing an amazing job. They actually are breaking down the game as well with Locked On's Julian Council. Another one, a friend of the show, friend of the stream. So they're breaking down week 1. Let's take a listen in to what these guys have to say about the game.
The season is upon us. They say the time for talk is over, but we can't help ourselves. Here is Locked On Panthers host Julian Council. Julian, thanks for joining me once again. And once again, as we do before every season, we're going to see what you're buying and selling with this 2025 Panthers football team. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
We start with the most important guy in the field, quarterback Bryce Young. We all saw the finish he had to last season. He became one of the better passers in the league over that stretch.
Right.
Will Bryce Young be a top 16, so top half quarterback in the NFL this whole season in terms of passer rating? Are you buying that or selling that?
Unfortunately, Nick, I'm going to have to sell this one. And this is not me saying I don't believe that Bryce Young can carry over the second half of the season into the entirety of 2025. I'm just going back and looking at the stats from last year from weeks 8 to 18. Going to Pro Football Focus, he was 20th in the league in passer rating. That's when he was playing well. If you want to ignore the first game he came back against Denver and go weeks 9 through 18, he was 19. So I think he'll improve. I'm not confident enough to say that he'll improve passer rating wise enough to be in the top 16 in the league this year. So yeah, I'm going to have to sell this one, even though I still have belief in Bryce Young's future here in Carolina.
All right, so it is a huge year for Bryce Young. It is year 3. Some quarterbacks are lucky enough to get that fifth-year option picked up or even get a long-term extension in the middle of that season. So are you buying or selling that Bryce will get extended in the middle of the 2025 season?
I'm going to sell that he gets extended in the middle of the season, but I will certainly buy him getting the fifth-year option once we get to April or early May in 2026. And you've looked at the last couple of years, guys who have been first-round picks. I know that Bryce came into a different regime, but Dan Morgan was the assistant general manager at the time, and now he's here as the GM. Dave Canales, we saw how he had some trust in Bryce in the second half of the season. I do think that Carolina would like to see more than just this season of Bryce Young in this system with these young receivers now that Adam Thielen is no longer around. So I'm going to sell the idea of him getting extended mid-season and buy him getting the fifth-year option, much like they did with Ike Ekwonu this past offseason and then J.C. Horn and Derek Brown the years prior.
What would it take for you to say, okay, Dan Morgan, go ahead and give him the bag in the middle of the season and extend him like, a Mahomes or an Allen, maybe after the season too?
Well, there you go. He's going to have to perform like a Mahomes or an Allen. That's what it would take for me to be all in. I think also for Carolina to be all in. And Brant Tillis, who is their executive vice president of football operations, who handles salary caps and contracts, was a part of that Mahomes deal where he came from in Kansas City. He even told us back in the spring, they're not there yet with Bryce. But if Bryce has the Mahomes, Allen, Burrow star turn, then go ahead and get that deal as soon as possible.
All right, outside of Bryce on offense, Panthers have a 1,000 1,000-yard back returning in Chuba Hubbard. They add a 1,000-yard back from Dallas, Enrico Dowdle. So given all that, are you buying or selling the Panthers will be a top half of the league rushing team based on yards per game?
Oh, I'm buying this. I look back at last year, they were only 18th in yards per game, which was surprising considering how well Chuba Hubbard ran the football a year ago, and that the offensive line was consistent, didn't have a ton of injuries, and was so much better than it was the year prior. But I think that this year, maybe Dave Canales won't exactly be stubborn about running the football, but he has more options in Chuba Hubbard coming back. And I think even with the addition of Rico Dowdle, he'll still be the top tier back in Carolina, but you want to get some of the pressure off of him with Rico coming off at that 1,000-yard rushing season last year in Dallas. And let's not forget about the rookie, Trevor Etienne. I think he'll be a part of that rushing attack as well. So I do think this will be a top half of the NFL rushing team as far as yards per game goes.
That defense has got to be fixed. Getting after the quarterback has got to be a priority. They went out and they picked 2 first-team All-SEC edge rushers in the draft. So will Nick Scorton and Princely Umanmielen combine for 12 sacks, which, by the way, is Julius Pepper's franchise record for a rookie? Can the two of them put that season together?
I think they're both wildly talented, and that's the conference, the SEC, where you would want to find some edge rushers. And I think that Scorton and Umanmielen have bright futures here in Carolina. But unfortunately, I'm going to sell this. I go back to last season, and I look at what Jared Verse, who came out of Florida State, first-round pick, what he did with the Rams and helping that defense turn things around and get to the divisional round. He only had 4.5 sacks. So Jared Verse, what I personally believe, was a better player than both Scorton and Umanmielen during their collegiate careers when he was at Florida State, and then those other two were at A&M/Purdue, Florida /Ole Miss respectively. I think that Verse not having the kind of crazy numbers as a rookie, I think that's what you should expect from these guys. So they can get to 4 or 5 apiece, and you have to understand too, like Patrick Jones II was brought in here to help out with the pass rush. They're bringing back TJ Wonnum, who's fully healthy going into the year. They're maybe not going to have the amount of opportunities they would have had it just been those two being the starters. So I'm going to sell that, but I still think that that's going to be a good duo moving forward here in Carolina.
Panthers surprised most of the football-watching world by going with a wide receiver, going offense in the first round of the draft. They pick up Tetairoa McMillan, tall, lanky, big catch radius. Guy many think can have 1,000-yard seasons for years to come.
Sure.
Kelvin Benjamin's franchise rookie record for a single season is 1,008 yards. Are you buying or selling? T-Mac will pick that up in year 1.
If he breaks that record, I do think things will go wildly differently for him long-term here than worked out for Kelvin Benjamin. Unfortunately, I'm going to sell this one. And even with the departure of Adam Thielen, I think that there's going to be a lot to go around as far as trying to get guys involved in this offense, which is a good thing. You look at guys like Rome Odunze in Chicago last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. in Arizona, and then Malik Neighbors in New York. I think that McMillan is on that tier entering the league as those guys when you look back at where they were drafted in the top 10 and also how they performed back in college statistically, where a lot of those categories like receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, he was better than a lot of those guys. But there's a lot to go around with the football here in Carolina.
Dave Canales preaches the ball, the ball, the ball. It's the most important thing to him, and he wants it to be the most important thing to this team. Turnover differential, just a key stat in all of football. And the Panthers were -5 in takeaways in 2024. So you're buying or selling that this Panthers team will finish with a plus turnover differential in 2025?
I'm going to sell this one. I don't believe that the defense is going to be able to knock the ball out as much as you would like. Maybe they're going to be trying to punch it, but as far as like confusing quarterbacks enough and being in position to get those takeaways, I think a lot of that has to come with not just the scheme, but also the ability to get after the passer. When I look at the edge rushing group that they have right now, I'm still not a believer this year in that being something that takes a major step forward. I like what they're bringing in Scorton and Umanmielen, but I just sold the idea of those guys combining for 12 sacks this season. Patrick Jones is probably more here to be someone who can help out the run, but he was impressive throughout training camp and the preseason as a pass rusher. And then we'll see what he's able to do fully healthy this year. I just don't think they're going to get enough pressure, and pressure leads to turnovers for them to be able to take that step forward and have a positive turnover differential this season.
Julian, 31.4 points per game allowed.
Don't remind me.
This defense last year.
Don't remind me.
The reminder needs to happen. So we think it's improved on paper.
Yeah.
Will this Carolina Panthers defense, under coordinator Ejiro Evero, back for another season, allow under 25 points per game? Is that too much to ask you to buy? Because that would be, it'd be a bottom 10 defense, but it wouldn't be the worst. You buying or selling that?
It would be also a touchdown better. And I do think that this defense can be a touchdown better than it was last year because they have Derek Brown back. J.C. Horn's coming back fully healthy yet again. And I like some of the veteran additions that they made on the defensive line in Turk Wharton and in Bobby Brown III. But with that being said, I'm going to have to sell this.
I knew there'd be a but.
I don't think they're going to take that big of a step forward from being historically the worst scoring defense in the history of the National Football League to all of a sudden not still being a bottom 10 defense. And I don't think it's necessarily the scheme or just overall talent level. I just think there's a lot that has to go into it. There's plenty of youth there, not a lot of depth. If something, God forbid, happens to J.C. Horn, they're in trouble there at corner. Anything happens to either Christian Roseboom or Trevin Wallace, they're in trouble there at linebacker. Safety, not a ton of experience behind Trevon Merrick. Nick Scott has had his moments, but certainly they're not great spots depth-wise. And this is a long, brutal season. It's a war of attrition in football and in the NFL in particular. I think they'll be better. Absolutely. I think being a touchdown better is something that you should be excited for if you were a Panthers fan. But them holding teams to under 25 points per game this year, I don't think they're going to quite get there. If they can hold them to 25.4 again, that's a touchdown better. Be happy with that because it can't be as bad as it was last year. So I would think it can't possibly be as bad as it was last year.
Panthers fans right now, they're not asking for much. They're asking, in December when they're cozied up on the couch, bowl of popcorn, ready to watch football, and they see that in the hunt graphic for the playoffs, that Carolina is still in that graphic and is still in the hunt for the playoffs. So you see what I did here? In the hunt, there's Rob Hunt.
Hey.
Are you buying or selling? The Panthers will be in the hunt past the bye week, which is late. It's week 14.
A lot of times when you see that graphic, you see teams that are like 5-9.
And they're still in the hunt.
And they're in the hunt. So, Carolina, I'm trying to do the math, 5-9. Like, they could be in the hunt. And, well, I guess they would, They could be in the hunt and be like a 6-7 team at that point in time, which certainly you would think. So, I will buy this because I can buy that on Sunday Night Football here on WCNC at some point in December, they will have the Panthers on that graphic because I don't think this is going to be a team that stays right there at that 5-win mark this upcoming season. I do think that they will make the improvements on both sides of the ball, that they have made the improvements on both sides of the ball to where they can get a lot closer to no longer 500, but to that 8-9 if things really go well, mark this upcoming season, and that will then have them in the hunt. And also understand, this is the NFC South. So there's going to be a possibility there. And also just the NFC as a whole. Like the NFC North, a really talented division will be competitive. Detroit, Minnesota again, and then Green Bay. Out west, I really like the Rams this season. We'll see with Seattle, Sam Darnold being their quarterback. Then the NFC East, Washington, Philadelphia, Dallas, we'll see what they do. I do think there's a possibility, even with the wild card, for them to be in the hunt. And again, that graphic gives a lot of people the opportunity. So I can buy that for sure.
We'll talk about another young defensive player that this team wants to count on in the future.
Yeah.
4th round, they got safety Lathan Ransom from Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. He had an interesting camp. He laid some big hits. He had an interception against the Steelers. He missed a tackle against the Steelers. A lot of people really excited about him. Nick Scott currently occupies that starting spot. Are you buying or selling that Lathan Ransom will start games based on merit, not injury in 2025?
I'm just going to sell this because I think that if it's not going to be Nick Scott, I think Damani Richardson will be the guy. And it's possible they come out in a 3 safety look at some point in time, so certainly he could. But if we're just looking at who's going to be primarily the starter next to Trevon Merrick, it could happen. But I think that Richardson would be the guy to really step up with that next opportunity. And I found it very curious throughout the preseason and really in training camp as well that Nick Scott consistently was able to get those first-team reps out there with Trevon Merrick. Then the final game against Pittsburgh, where you mentioned Ransom had a nice interception there of Rock Hill native Mason Rudolph. I think he's an impressive player. I think he's somebody who can help them out. I just think that early on, they're going to really want to just bring him along slowly, give Scott those reps, and then I think it would be Damani Richardson, who was impressive as a rookie last year, undrafted at A&M, who would step into that role before Ransom. I think maybe next year could really be one of those starting guys.
All right, so great breakdown with Carboni and Julian Council with Locked On Panthers on what we can expect week 1 against the Jags. Season is here. A great way, I want to just shout out WCNC Charlotte, a great way to kick off the NFL season, that Cowboys game. I have a bedtime, so I got to halftime, and I was like, you know what, going to try the third quarter.
Some tea.
It was pretty good, but we had a lightning delay and I had to go to bed.
Yeah.
But great way to start the season, Cowboys-Eagles, a historic rivalry. So you can only watch that here on WCNC Charlotte. And we'll have great games on Sunday night. So I just want to shout out the station. And shout out to J.C. Horn, a Gamecock.
Gamecock.
Who I should have said instead of Rico. I mean, I should have said in addition to Rico Dowdle.
In addition.
We got some Gamecocks.
Yeah, they do.
You should root a little bit harder for the Panthers. We've been showing some love to the Gamecocks.
They do go. Yeah, they do. They do reach into the Gamecock pool for their
Excel.
Yep.
JC.
Yep.
Rico.
Yep.
All right, Carlene. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just, you should want us to win and want us to do well.
I would love for the Panthers to do well. It'd be very exciting to be in a city that,
That didn't sound convincing at all.
We
show love to Carlene as an organization, and she doesn't show love back.
I do. I would love for the Panthers to be on top. You know what I'm saying? It'd be great.
What I'm hoping is J.C. Horn is the number one corner. I think he has the capabilities of being the number one corner.
Very talented.
He's battled through some injuries.
Sure.
So hopefully this year he played a lot last season, so that was good to see. So hopefully he follows up with another strong season. Our Logan Campbell got a chance to sit down one-on-one with J.C. Horn about the season, what to expect, and much more. Let's take a listen into that conversation.
Whenever somebody said it usually hit me like if it flew by. A couple of those years I was injured, so I still feel young, but yeah, I'm getting up there.
Does it feel any different coming into this year?
Yeah, it feels a little different. Just having the same coaching staff back, we're real familiar with the style they want, their language that they use in the meeting rooms and stuff like that. It makes a difference on the field. So yeah, we got a good feeling going into this year.
Absolutely, there's a lot to be excited about. But you had a really big offseason. You had a baby girl.
Yeah.
Has that changed your mentality at all?
Yeah. It's more than. I'm thinking about her in everything I do, so it's not just for me anymore. Like when I wake up, I'm thinking about her, and when I'm out there, I'm thinking about her. So I got a bigger purpose than me now, and just like any old family is really my seed, and I just try to go hard every day for her.
Well, just seeing your smile, just when we mention her and you talk about her, how much has she changed your life?
Tremendously. It's the biggest blessing in the world. I always say, I just said it a couple of times, like I always thought, getting drafted, to the NFL or to the NBA as a kid, I always thought that was going to be my, biggest accomplishment in life. But, having a kid, is nothing that tops that feeling. So, yeah, it's definitely a blessing.
Well, now you're wearing multiple hats. You're wearing a football and now a dad hat. How are you able to balance all of this?
Just when I'm in a building, staying dialed in on my job, and when I get home, it's time to be dad. Give her and my girlfriend all my time. And just try to be there and be consistent doing both.
You have your first home game here in a couple of weeks. I'm assuming your daughter's going to be here. What's that moment you think going to be like when you see her in the stands wearing, your jersey, your little cheerleader outfit?
Yeah, I mean, it made me feel old a little bit. I remember being a rookie, seeing all the other older guys with all their kids, and I'm just like, man, I felt like that was so far away from me, but it's here now, and like I said, it's just a blessing, and I can't wait.
You mentioned earlier, you've dealt with some injuries in your career, but last year you said the biggest thing for you is to stay healthy. You did that. So what's your biggest goal coming into this year?
Just be more consistent as a player. Obviously staying healthy. That's, they say your best ability is availability. So obviously staying healthy. Just being consistent in my play. Trying to reach for the stars and be better and better. As the season goes on. So yeah, I'm excited for this year.
There is like a different feel to this defense. Just talk a little bit about the cornerback group and how you guys have developed and meshed over this preseason.
Yeah, getting, like I said, whenever you're getting the same guys back, and y'all have some of that chemistry, obviously you're going to get better.
But you're one of the older guys, so how are you stepping up and continuing to grow this leadership role on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, just trying to be more vocal. That's not really my strong suit. I'm kind of like a lead by example type of guy, but sometimes, like you said, I don't feel like I'm that old, but compared to our room, I am. And sometimes you got to be more vocal just to give the other players confidence and show you got that belief in them to go out there and get the job done. So I've just been trying to work on that a little bit.
It's funny you say that because you and Bryce were kind of going back and forth all throughout training camp and, being more vocal than we've seen in the past. Where did that come from and how are you guys bringing that out of each other?
Yeah, I mean, just fun trash talk. That's kind of always been me. Practice is a time to have fun, or whenever you playing football, it's a time to have fun. You can let loose a little bit. So Bryce he talked back, so to make it more fun. Going into each practice, knowing we got that competitive battle going on. But now the season's here, and it's time for us to team up and win football games, and inflict that on other opponents.
The season is here, and your first opponent is Jacksonville. Obviously, they drafted Travis Hunter. That's a guy that you're going to go head-to-head against. What's your mentality and what's your approach to facing a player like that?
Same approach. I got the same mindset every Sunday, regardless of who across from me.
All right, so that was Logan Campbell's one-on-one with J.C. Horn ahead of Week 1. So hopefully, you know what it says in J.C. Horn's bio on Instagram?
What does it say?
Seatbelt.
Seatbelt.
He's locking up.
Seatbelt.
He's locking up whoever the receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., that's you. Travis Hunter, that's you. J.C. Horn. Seatbelt locking them up. All right. As I work on the celebration, we're going to head to break.
You're nailing it.
We're going to head to break. I need to work on it a little bit more. We'll head to break. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene's here. James is here in studio. And for the past couple of weeks, especially the past couple of weeks, since training camp, we've been keeping you covered on the Panthers. But now that we are within Week 1 of the NFL season, first game, we're just a couple of days away from the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mm-hmm. It's time to lock in.
The buzz is it's building here.
We got to lock in.
Yeah.
We got to lock in. The buzz is here. Panthers hoping to go 1-0. I'm hoping they go 1-0. And we've been breaking out all things Panthers. I feel like looking at all of our coverage, you're walking away with something. 1, 2,
It's thorough.
It's thorough.
Mm-hmm.
What don't you know?
Right.
And so shout out to our sports team. Shout out to Eugene Robinson. Who,
shout out to you, Nick Sturdivant.
Shout out to me.
You've been keeping us informed.
Informed, entertained.
Hyped up. Locked in.
You know who kept me hyped? Eugene.
Eugene could make a brick wall hype.
Like, so, a quick story. So, and you know my stories are quick.
Yeah. That's true.
So we were
they sure are.
We were recording the show for the airs 9 o'clock each Thursday. Eugene and I and Carlene, still figuring out the name. We were so loud that after the show, I walked out of the newsroom, head held high, and folks were like, "Is everything good back there?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Man, we could hear you guys all the way in the newsroom."
Yeah.
We were so loud.
Yeah.
We were causing a ruckus.
That's Eugene.
They said it was me too.
It was you too.
They said it was me and Eugene.
Okay.
So I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, we were lively back here. We had a spirited conversation.
Everybody likes a little lively.
Yeah, we needed that energy. Energy for week 1. Eugene's a former safety.
Yep.
Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
Played for the Panthers at
Lovely
one point.
human being.
Great human being. Great spirit. So I'm looking forward to continue to do the show with you and Eugene as we progress. We're in week 1, so we got 18 more. We got 17 more shows to go, at least.
Yep.
So
we'll get to know each other real well.
Yes. But you don't want to miss it. Great content. And so in case you missed it, it's on our digital platforms. We want to play it for you right now. Eugene and I, Carlene, chatting about the Panthers ahead of week 1. We're breaking out every aspect. Let's take a listen to it. All right, so you hear the animation. We're talking about Panthers football. Time to get hype. We need a name.
Your favorite thing in the world.
Well, yeah, we need a name. I'm still working out a name. I'm workshopping the names. I feel like I'm good with names on workshopping. I'm not here by myself. You hear the voice of Carlene Bragg, but we got the one and only Eugene Robinson here in studio to talk Panther football.
You know
man.
that's right.
How you feeling,
You
man?
know that's right.
I feed off of Eugene's energy when it comes to football.
You know that's right, my brother. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. All right, week 1, just a couple of days away. Well, week 1 actually, never mind. For the Panthers, is a couple of days away. Play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's start on offense. We want to talk about both sides of the ball.
Gotcha.
All right, let's start with Bryce Young. So last year, Dave Canales comes in. He's a quarterback whisperer. He changed around Geno Smith. He helped a guy like Baker Mayfield.
Yes, he did.
We had big expectations for Bryce last year. And Bryce, first play against the Saints, interception, and it felt like the first part of the season was kind of like, all right, throw the season away. And he turned things around, Bryce, and they were able to kind of get their feet underneath them. What are you looking for in this first game from Bryce in the offense? We'll start with Bryce.
Okay, well, let me go back. I think the best thing that happened to Bryce last year was getting benched.
Okay.
There's an education process that happens on the bench that you sit there and you have to watch somebody do your job, and then you have to wait your turn to get back in there, and you're chomping at the bit to get back in there because you're like, oh, I made these mistakes, but I'm going to be a little bit sharper if I get the chance. When he got the chance to get back in when Dalton went down, I said, that's the best I've seen him. Even despite the offensive line that was a little bit precarious, a little bit unstable a little bit, he was able to find those little windows where you have to throw the rock at and get the ball out quickly. And that's what Coach Canales wanted him to do. I need you to get the ball out in 2.8 seconds, not 3.2, because if you're in 3.2 seconds, typically you're sacked.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I saw him just grow. And I'm like, man, hold up. This dude he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then when I watched him this preseason, I like, wow, Bryce is ready. He is poised to have a very, very good season because I think he understands the landscape. He knows the plays. He's leading, and he's leading by example. He throws people open. Even when he hit T-Mac against Cleveland in that preseason game, T-Mac wasn't even looking for the ball, but the ball was like, boom, right on top of him when he came out that quick little angle route. Boom, it was right on top of him. I'm like, man, that's a good pass. Everybody talked about the drop. I'm like, hold up. That was an amazing pass to throw a man open and it hit him right as he's turning around. So from that standpoint, I think as we're looking at Bryce, get your popcorn and peanuts ready, because I think this dude right here is going to have an excellent season.
I was just about to ask, did you see enough from Bryce in the preseason to say, okay, all right, I call it Bama Bryce.
Yes.
That Bama Bryce. You saw enough in the preseason?
That was Bama Bryce.
Yeah.
That was Bama Bryce. I like that, Bama Bryce, because don't forget, last year I was a proponent of it, because I'm old school. I played 16 years. I'm an old school dude. Preseason, all the veterans played. Last year, that wasn't the case. Coach Canales, he didn't have that thing where, like, let me play my veterans the first game, the second game, and this third game. He didn't have that. They played one series and the very last game. That's not enough. That's not enough to get data on what is your quarterback doing, what is your offensive line, what's the chemistry. This year, Coach Canales went to, I'm putting my guys out there.
But folks are still critical, Eugene. I gotta hold the feet to the fire. Okay. Folks are still critical that Coach Canales did not play them enough in the preseason.
Yeah, but
what do you say to that?
So to that I say I saw enough activity. Don't forget they had the in-persons where you bring in the team. They went to Houston, Texas. They brought the Jets in. The Cleveland in, and so you got enough practice live under, away from peering eyes.
Yeah.
But when we saw what I saw in the preseason, I'm like, okay. 2 series there, okay. A series here, a long series by that way. I'm like, okay, I've seen enough.
Okay.
I've seen enough by Bryce, because last year, my point is, Nick, when they didn't have that, dude, I'm like, how am I gonna get? Yeah. I gotta get ready. I gotta get ready for the football season. Defensive backs gotta be able to go backwards. You gotta be able to read things. You gotta be able to go ahead and communicate back and forth. All that stuff did not happen last year. This year, it happened because Coach Canales had an emphasis on, let me get my starters out there to see what they do.
Can we talk about the offensive line? Because I know we talked about it a few days ago. Offensive line, what you're expecting. Icky, the #1 pick from NC State from a few years ago, he's kind of had an up and down sort of career, and now we don't know if he's going to play week 1. He just had his appendix taken out. What are you expecting from this expensive offensive line?
So you had Icky, you got Hunt, you got Corbett, you got Lewis, and then you have Moulton.
And Brady Christensen.
And Brady Christensen, of course, he's that Swiss Army knife. So you had a number of guys, and then you had Savalas. You got guys who actually played last year, a lot played McCade. So you got enough guys who've had a lot of experience. That is the most experienced offensive line that I've seen in a very long time. And because of that, I think our bread and butter should be and will be 65-35 run to pass ratio, which means that hand the rock off to Chuba, hand the rock off to Dotto, hand the rock off to Etienne. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this offensive line to get tremendous push to protect Bryce, yes, but to really make a statement that we can run against anybody. A third down and 1 is like third down in inches to us, and we have the offensive line to do that. And so from that standpoint, I think as we're going into this game, the best thing about the Carolina Panthers is the offensive line. That's the best thing about them, in my opinion, right now.
And you brought up a good point. Like, historically, Carolina's bread and butter has been the running game. So I think go back to the 03 season, when you talk about Deshaun Foster, you talk about Stephen Davis, who had a career.
That's right.
Also, D'Angelo and Stewart. And now you got a foundation with Chuba Hubbard, who kind of came out of nowhere, and a guy like Rico Dowdle.
Chuba Hubbard did a great thing. He and Rico Dowdle had the same thing. They weren't the guys who were the main guys. Down in Dallas, it was the other kid, Pollard Pool.
Oh, Pollard.
I might be having a memory thing on names. And then here with Chuba, he wasn't. It was the other guy. Was it Devontae Freeman? I forget. It was somebody else. It wasn't him. And so you got to go ahead and bide your time.
And Miles Sanders, who was there.
And Sanders, too. So he wasn't the guy. So this is what guys like that who are not the guy think about. Man, you wait till I get out there. You wait. Because I'm that same person. I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
You're not looking at me. I'm not your number 1 draft pick. I'm not the guy that, number 2. I'm not the guy that you're thinking about saying, hey, get a rock to. But you wait. If you give me the ball, you wait. That's what he's been poised all season long like that the last couple of years. And that's why you see him pay dividends, because he had over 1,000 yards. Well deserved, but he's been poised to have 1,000 yards because he's been biding and waiting his time going like this. If you get me out there, I'm going to let you know what time it is. And behind that offensive line, I think, now he and Dowdle at the same, I think that, man, watch out. Those cats can be, they could be another resurgence of a D'Angelo and Stewart.
And I think that's what helped Bryce's progression last year. You got the running game going, and you're able to hit those open throws, and we're able to see Bama Bryce again, and we're able to, and hopefully we're able to get Chuba the rock more during crunch time. I think that's
what I want to see too. I want to see. I love having a 65-35 split, but whenever you can run the ball, that means you can pass the ball.
Yeah.
And so I think our bread and butter has always been we've been able to run the ball. And whenever you're able to run the ball, dude, you made the quarterback's job that much easier. Yeah. Because now they can't just load up against you and go, I'm going to go ahead and rush the quarterback. Go ahead and rush the quarterback and see what this draw hits you or this play action or it hits you. You go ahead and rush it if you want to. You got to be really solid in knowing what you're doing. So from our standpoint, if we're able to run the ball, we just put the defense on their heels right now because they don't know what's coming next.
Before we take our first break, I got to get to the receiving room. I came in here with a plan. Hey, Jalen Coker, our guy. That's our guy, Jalen Coker.
That's my guy.
No Adam Thielen. Hunter Renfrow is back with the team. It's been a couple of weeks for the Panthers wide receiver room, man.
It is.
Realistically, that pressure is back on XL, Xavier Legette, and T-Mac.
Exactly. Squarely on their shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, because, first of all, you got to have a veteran presence. Losing Thielen's presence, that's why Hunter Renfrow's back in the mix.
Yeah.
Don't make no mistake. And he wouldn't have been in the mix. They got him back in there sooner because when Jalen Coker just went down.
Yeah, he's on IR. He's gone for a month.
He's going to go on for the month. So now you're like, oh, man. And I had high hopes. I think he's the best receiver on the team, in my opinion, Jalen Coker.
Yeah.
I think he's that guy. And so now it really does fall on to Legette and T-Mac. Dude, you got to step up. Dude, you have to step up. So we're asking a second-year guy to be a 5-6 year veteran, and we asked the first-year guy to be a veteran. That's what we're asking him to do. And that's what I was saying about that first pass that T-Mac, when in the preseason, when Bryce hit him in the end zone. Dude, when you come out of your break, get your eyes around and get your hands ready to catch the ball because the ball's going to be on your chest because that Bryce is that type of guy.
Yeah, he's an on-time thrower. And we talked about it a couple of days ago as we were preparing for the show. They got to play big. XL and T-Mac are big receivers, but at times they don't feel like they play big at all.
Yeah, a great point, because every defensive back knows when you go against a Terrell Owens is a big man. Kelvin Johnson, big dude.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going against somebody that's a big person, you're going like this. Oh, I gotta lock it down. Oh, okay.
Especially as a safety.
As a safety, especially if you're gonna be doing man-to-man, you better go ahead and bring your lunch. And when the advantage that T-Mac and the advantage that Legette have, they got size. I can't teach size.
Yeah.
I can't teach you. That's your mom and daddy that got you tall. I can't teach that. I mean, you could go ahead and work out and put the muscle on it, but that height.
Yeah.
Now with that height. Need I say you can go out there and try to bully people a little bit? You can go out there and try to go, man, get out of my way. Push them out of the way. You have that ability to do that. But if you don't play big that way, the cornerbacks and the safeties look at it and go, oh, man, you just a big man that's a big man. Not a big man that's a big man with a big heart.
You're saying the same thing Michael Irvin said. I don't know if you saw the video of him at Miami practice telling wide receivers, I mean, you got to play big. You got to smack him across the helmet.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so we got to see that from those guys.
And they are, here it is, they are capable of it. And so if I could get into their head, I would go and say, hey, Alay, check this out. And Matt, when you were in high school, what'd you do? When somebody lined up against, what'd you do?
Bully ball.
You said, get out. What? You, please? Oh, please. You looking at the quarterback, throw up my side.
Yep.
I need you to go back and return to that. I don't want you to think of yourself as a rookie. I want you to think of yourself as a veteran who had football experience from Pee-wee to high school to college. That's a lot of football. Now go ahead and beat somebody down legally.
Man, I'm hyped. I'm about to put on some shorts.
You know that's right. Beat down somebody legally.
Let's take a quick break. We talked about offense. After the break, we're going to talk about defense. Back here next. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan, Carlene's here, James is here. That conversation with Eugene, you can catch it on our digital platforms. Right now, it's available for you to watch. All right, we want to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota right now. Right now, there is a press conference happening with doctors there regarding the condition and updates on those students that were shot at Annunciation Church just last week. We continue to get updates from doctors on how they're doing. So let's take a listen in. This just started.
And the bullet remains lodged in her right occipital lobe. We brought her into the operating room and performed what's called a decompressive craniectomy, which is basically removing the left half of her skull to give her brain room to swell. Unfortunately, the bullet path injured some critical vessels, what's called the Sylvian fissure, which carries branches of what's called the middle cerebral artery, which is a very important blood vessel. We did our best to spare as much of that blood vessel as possible and then stop the bleeding. And then we inserted a pressure monitor and got her off to our wonderful pediatric intensive care unit. She's been there now for 10 days. We've had some issues with swelling and increased pressure in her head, which fortunately have been managed fairly well. And we've done some other studies, including an angiogram that looks at the blood vessels of the brain. And overall, things look as good as can be expected. We've kept her very heavily sedated in a medical-induced coma to some degree to help keep the pressures in her brain down. Those pressures have remained in a relatively good range that we've now started to allow her to wake up a little bit more. And as I mentioned, there are a few rays of hope. She's very purposeful on her left side of her body. She's got some slight movement in her right leg, and she's opening her eyes. She's no longer fixed and dilated. The pressures in her brain are okay. And hopefully they'll remain that way. We've seen plenty of cases, especially in young brains, where the swelling is quite delayed and can get worse over time. But we're starting to get out of that worrisome window, but we're not out of it yet. It's day by day, and I can't tell you how this is going to end. I know she's had a stroke from that injury to that blood vessel. I don't know what her permanent deficits are going to be, but we're a little bit more optimistic that she's going to survive. I'm going to hand it over to Sophia's dad, Tom Forches, and I'd like to make my statement.
Just over 1 week ago, the world witnessed a heinous act committed by a coward. To carry out such an atrocity against innocent children who were praying during Mass, is unfathomable. In this horrific act of violence, my daughter, my precious angel, my kuklamu Sophia, suffered a gunshot wound to the head. Sophia is kind. She is brilliant. She is full of life. She is an innocent child who was attacked while in prayer. Words cannot begin to describe the terror and heartbreak that come with learning such devastating details. These past 10 days have been the longest and hardest of our lives. I stand before you today on behalf of my family to thank every person who helped get Sophia from the pew where she lay wounded into all the way to Dr. Galicich's operating room. The speed and coordination it took to make that happen is nothing short of extraordinary. Thank you to Julie. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to Principal DeBoer. Thank you to Matt and Molly. Thank you to Jason and Ryan. And thank you to the countless officers and first responders who arrived on the scene. Your courage, your compassion, and your quick action gave Sophia a fighting chance. To Dr. Galicich, thank you. Thank you for using the talents God gave you to save our daughter. Without your skill, your precision, and your attentiveness, Sophia would not be here today. On behalf of our entire family, Dr. Galicich, thank you. To the entire neurosurgery team under Dr. Galicich's leadership, thank you. Anyone fortunate enough to learn from him is truly blessed to have such a gifted mentor and healer. To the pediatric critical care team and all the staff in the pediatric ICU, thank you. Your dedication and attention to detail are why HCMC stands as a premier level 1 trauma center. Your care has been a lifeline for our family. The final individual I want to thank is my wife. She is the most kind-hearted, selfless, and caring human being I have ever known. Her strength is unmatched. She is my superhero. She has not left Sophia's side. She's monitoring every medication, every drip, every vital sign, and every detail involved in caring for the most critical patients, our daughter. She's truly the best mother I know. It is an honor to be her husband, and I am blessed to call her my wife. Sophia has received prayers from across the globe. It is nothing short of miraculous to know that millions of people have lifted her name in hundreds of millions of prayers. We've heard of prayers from Oslo to Johannesburg, from Sydney to Santiago, from Vietnam to Canada, from Mount Athos, Greece to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, thank you, thank you for each and every one of those prayers. Thank you to the clergy from the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church who have led prayers around the world. Your spiritual support has carried us through the darkest days. The Fortress family extends its deepest sympathies and condolences to the Merkel and Moisky families. When I spoke to my 9-year-old son about his schoolmates who were murdered, he had these kind words to say about Harper and Fletcher. Harper is the most kind, and she's just a really nice girl. She had so many friends and is never mean to anyone. And when I told him about Fletcher, he said, Fletcher, oh no, he is so good at everything he does. He's friends with everyone, and he is such a good friend to all of us. May the memories of Harper Moisky and Fletcher Merkel be eternal. I want to end by imploring the world, continue to pray. Continue to pray for Sophia. Pray for peace. Pray with vigor. We need you to keep the fervor with which you are praying. And when you pray, move your feet. Moving your feet means one step at a time. It means volunteering your time. It means donating blood. It means listening to someone who's hurting. It means asking yourself, what would Jesus want me to do? And if you don't know Jesus, learn to follow him. His path will lead you back to prayer. Thank you to everyone who has helped us through this nightmare. Your courage, your compassion, and your love have carried us. Sophia is strong. Sophia is fighting. And Sophia is going to win this fight for all of humanity.
So I'm now inviting Dr. Golisic to answer questions.
Is she getting you response?
She's purposeful, so there's some level of awareness, but no, not following commands yet. But she appears to be aware of some of her surroundings.
At what point will you be able to tell damage to keep?
It's really difficult to say. As I mentioned before, when I first saw her, I was told she was 16, and that she's 12 is even better in terms of the potential for neurologic recovery. The younger patients tend to have a better chance of recovery. Their brain has a little bit more what we call plasticity, where other areas could potentially make up for things. I'm optimistic about the leg function returning. She'll probably get some improvement in her right arm. But there are a lot of other things that could still be wrong. This bullet could affect the language centers, her ability to speak and understand speech. But we're banking on that plasticity of the brain in a 12-year-old. that it's going to improve. I just don't know where this is going to end, though. And every case is different. But we're trending in the right direction at this point.
Perhaps this is pretty tough. First responders too. How are you seeing?
You're right, it is. But this is about Sophia today, and we want to keep the focus on her. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very difficult for everybody involved.
You would mention the bullet. Is this something that stay there? Can you remove that at some point, or how does that work?
It's lodged in the right occipital lobe, which means it crossed from one hemisphere into the other. There is no benefit to taking it out at this juncture. It would not improve her recovery, and actually could be harmful to try to remove it because you'd have to go through normal brain to get there. But it's not only the bullet itself, it's the blast wave that the bullet creates that leaves some doubt as to the extent of the neurologic issues that she's going to have. Because it's not just the direct trajectory where the bullet passed, but the shock wave it sent through the brain, kind of in a cylindrical fashion outward from the path of the bullet.
Can you explain how Sophia made it? Why you said you were more optimistic now than you were before. Can you explain why that's the case and the trajectory that she went on coming here to New York to how she is right now? Why do you feel that way?
Time, for one thing. That we haven't, and we've been able to control the pressures within her brain, that her exam has improved somewhat, that the swelling hasn't subsided, but it hasn't gotten any significantly worse. But we're banking, it's basically that exam that we're encouraged by, and the ability to control the pressures in the brain. And in large part, that had to do with removing that half of the skull to give her brain ample room to swell in the future as well. So again, time will tell, and hopefully we'll continue to see some gradual improvement. But it's just very difficult to say, when she's going to be out of the woods. I don't know.
You mentioned she was in an induced coma. Is that still the case now, or is she taking
we're giving her a hiatus every once in a while and allowing her to wake up a little bit. And as we are sure that her pressures will stay down, that those periods of time will extend longer and longer. But we take it slow. There's nothing to be gained by rushing it at this point, and although it's painful and quite difficult for everybody involved, because we all want to know. The best thing for Sophia at this point is to keep her heavily sedated as needed.
For her right side to start responding, is that a time?
That's going to be time and a lot of rehab. And hopefully we get to that point.
any takeaway you'd like to share? What was a lot today?
Discussions for another day. I hope someday we can get it through the politicians' thick skulls, how terrible it is to tell a 12-year-old parents that their child has been shot. I hope it would get through their skulls, that message, as well as some of these bullets do.
Can you talk about the mental health that victims go through and that their families will go through? Because there's a lot of talk at the federal level that this year.
You are watching the end of a miraculous press conference at Hennepin Healthcare, HCMC. I don't know if in my career if I've ever seen a surgeon so emotional and seemingly connected to a patient that they're treating. Obviously, given the circumstances, you can see why. So that neurosurgeon was talking about, Dr. Galicic, was talking about Sophia Forkas and her condition right now after being shot in the head at Annunciation Church while praying. It was bittersweet, would be not a great way to describe it, but he said that her recovery thus far has been miraculous. He said it would take a miracle for her to be where she is now. He said he is optimistic that she's going to make it, but she is not out of the woods yet. She arrived at the hospital last week in critical condition, shot in the head. He said trauma surgeons got her to the OR in record time. She has and had a bullet lodged in the occipital lobe of her brain, a part of the brain where speech and language operate, is what the surgeon was saying. They had to remove part of her skull so that swelling could take place, so there'd be room for swelling and the pressure to go down inside of her head. The doctor again saying it looks as good as can be expected. She is in and out of an induced coma. She says that her eyes have been opened and she's had some movement, I believe he said, in her left leg. And they're slowly trying to work her back into, whatever condition she may be in. But wow, what a press conference. Her father, Tom, also speaking, thanking everyone and their mother, including his wife and everyone who prayed, and HCMC for the health care and for the church for prayers. Just a miraculous press conference there. It is unclear what her permanent deficits might be if she's going to have any. But again, the surgeon's saying this is day to day. This was a health update just for her. This was not political. This had nothing to do with what you think about what happened. This was about Sophia. And I know we're all grateful and praying for her as well. So that concludes the coverage of Sophia Forkas and her continued recovery at HCMC. We will have much more coming up on KARE 11 News at 4, 5, and 6. Stay with us for the very latest.
All right, so we want to bring it back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. That was just some of KARE 11's coverage as they brought that press conference with an update on the condition of Sophia Forkas after that tragic shooting at Annunciation Church last week there in Minneapolis, Minnesota. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene's here, James here in studio. We want to go to something live. This is in Arkansas. Right there on your screen is FCC Chairman Mr. Carr there, alongside Senator Cotton and Attorney General Tim Griffin there in Arkansas. They're holding a press conference, a joint news conference. Don't have a lot of information about it, just to be real with you guys, but let's listen in to what FCC Chairman is saying at this moment.
Is that having the back of law enforcement is a top priority. For my part, I very much welcome the partnership with law enforcement, with Jonathan from the National Sheriff's Association, who's done great work advocating for the members of his association. So today what we're announcing is that the FCC, at our next monthly meeting in September 30th, we're going to vote on a proposal that will lift a federal restriction that has prohibited state and local prisons from jamming cell phones. Over the years, the FCC has authorized various different technologies to try to identify contraband cell phones and shut them down. They've worked in some cases, they have not worked in other cases. Other countries and the federal government have authority to jam within their facilities, but state and local officials have been denied that ability based on, in my view, a misreading of federal law. And so we're going to propose to adopt new regulations at the federal level, at the FCC, that for the first time ever is going to authorize jamming in state and local prisons. It may not be a silver bullet, it may not be the right fit for every facility, but there are certainly lots and lots of facilities around this country where this type of solution will and can make a significant difference. We're going to make it flexible. It's not going to be mandatory on any facility to do this. And the technology has evolved where you can tailor the jamming solution in ways that will not necessarily interfere with someone that's driving on a nearby highway or a community that's nearby. But again, when you step back and look at the numbers that we've seen, thousands and thousands of cell phones. When we toured Varner this morning, we met with Officer Shore. He said that contraband cell phones are the root of so many evils taking place, not just in prisons, but across the country for the crimes that people are phoning in and they're enabling. Again, President Trump has been clear that we want to have the back of law enforcement, of public safety, and we're going to do that at the FCC. The first vote, again, will be September 30th. That's a proposed rule. We have to run a period of time for a comment cycle, and then our plan is to move to a final order in relatively short order at the FCC that, again, will authorize for the first time jamming solutions to make a dent in this scourge that we see across the country. So with that, thanks again to the Attorney General. Great to be with you today.
Thank you. I would just emphasize that we heard this morning loudly from officials at Varner. This won't solve every problem. This is almost a direct quote. This won't solve every problem in the prison, but it'll solve many, many of the problems. And make no mistake about it, contraband cell phones kill and endanger law enforcement on the inside and your neighbors, your friends, neighbors, community members on the outside. That's what's at stake here. Happy to take any questions.
Arkansas advocate. You said that this might be a question for Mr. Farrar, but you said that there has been a misreading of the law where these jamming solutions are concerned. Could you expand on that a little bit?
There's a provision of federal law, to be specific, 47 U.S.C. 333, that prohibits the jamming of authorized communications. And so the theory had been that you can't jam any communications. But what we can do at the federal level is we authorize communications or we don't authorize communications. And so what we're going to do is we're going to deauthorize the lawful use of contraband cell phones within the confines of prisons. So once contraband cell phone use is not an authorized communication, then the federal law is no longer a prohibition to jamming it. And that's well within the FCC's authority to give that reading to federal law. So again, people thought there's nothing we can do. Federal law says you can't jam. But again, only you can't jam authorized communications, and we can simply deauthorize, from a federal authorization perspective, contraband cell phones.
If the first vote is September 30th, when could this actually be in place?
It usually takes a couple months to get to a vote, and so I would anticipate sometime next year that we might be in a position, obviously as early as possible in my view, to get these solutions in place. A lot of prisons already have some technology solutions in place. For instance, there are systems that are supposed to catch contraband cell phone calls. So instead of going from a contraband cell phone to a legitimate nearby cell phone tower, it's supposed to capture the call within the prison and then route it so it doesn't actually go anywhere. There potentially are ways that you can move some of those contracts, move some of that technology over to a jamming solution. So there may be instances where there could be relatively quick solutions, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to move as quickly as possible because, again, every single day that goes by, we're leaving the American public exposed. We've got to close that loophole.
Any other questions?
Senator Cotton, you said that there had been hits ordered on law-abiding Arkansans. Could you expand a little bit on that and provide a little more specific details about that?
I'm not sure I said law-abiding Arkansans, but law-abiding Americans in other states. We've had lots of crime here. I think Varner said they had collected over 350 cell phones in just the first 7 months of this year. Those are being used to get weapons into prisons, to get drugs into prisons, and they can be used, especially among gangs, to threaten people outside of the prisons. Chairman Carr gave the example, was it in Georgia, where one of the correctional officers who was in charge of confiscating cell phones was actually the subject of a hit from someone who had a cell phone inside the prison, because that's the thing about which the prisoners most care. More than weapons, more than drugs, because it enables them to continue to exert criminal control outside of the prison. So what we don't want to have is cell phones continued presence in our prisons here in Arkansas and get to the point where we do have a correctional officer or we do have a law-abiding Arkansan outside of a prison or a jail who's the victim of a heinous murder because that cell phone is present there.
Yeah, and I would add, because your question is about Arkansas specifically, we have numerous examples of extortion in Arkansas. Some go further than others when they're caught, but when I was at your press conference, Senator, earlier in the year in Washington, I recall telling the story of an inmate who was contacting another inmate's mother on the phone and saying, if you don't get us this money, we're going to kill your son. So, I mean, this is not up for debate. It's well established that this is what goes on. We can give you all sorts of specific facts, but no credible person disputes the heinous crimes that are being committed with these cell phones.
It wasn't that long ago. I think it was actually Georgia as well. There was 2 13-year-old kids who were shot at a birthday party from a hit that had been called in from a contraband cell phone. So we sort of see story after story. Again, there was a prison official who had a hit called in on him. They shot and killed the person they thought was a prison official, but they got the wrong person. So a completely innocent person, just like law enforcement, completely innocent, but that had no connection at all to the prison, was shot and killed because of a hit called in. And so I think the scope and scale of the crime that's being enabled from contraband cell phones is something that everyday Americans may not be aware of, but it's a very real, serious threat.
Yeah, and it's common sense that they're not calling in graffiti. They're not calling in speeding on Cantrell. They're calling in rape, murder, death, destruction, theft, human trafficking. That's what these people are dealing with, because that's who are filling our prisons. So, any other questions?
Yeah, briefly.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how jamming that technology works. Is it feasible cost-wise? Is it something that can be easily implemented in Arkansas?
That's something that we've been talking about. I'm looking to see whether I can assist, but
Yeah, I mean, cost has always been an issue. Again, up to now, there are technology solutions that are being contracted for and paid for that simply aren't as effective. And so those existing funding streams can now be shifted over to pay for jamming systems. Also, the cost of jamming is coming down. But again, this will be another issue that we're going to continue to work through. We do think that there are available federal or state funding streams that can be used to support this because, again, it isn't such an interest of the country to solve this. So we're going to work on all of those issues as well.
If I could just add, I mean, in addition to potential federal grants or state appropriations, there's a simple fact of demand. Once the FCC acts and state prisons and county jails are able to actually use this technology, there's going to be a lot more demand for it here. You know, we were at Varner. We have a handful of prisons in this state, but we have 75 counties. They all have their own jails. A state like Texas has over 200 counties. So the demand for this technology will increase significantly after the FCC acts, which of course will create more competition and should bring price competition down.
Money well spent regardless.
Ellen McCarthy with the ADG. This is a question for the chairman. In regards to the jamming technology itself, how does it ensure that it doesn't interfere with official prison communications?
Yeah. There's a couple of solutions here. One, the item that we're going to vote on in September specifically seeks comment on various ways that we can ensure that it's going to be confined to a certain space. And obviously, no prison would do it except voluntarily. And so that prison can sort of dictate how it's designed in a way that's not going to interfere with their communication. So for instance, one way that you can do it is you can focus the jamming on a single cell block or a housing unit, and then the offices and places where public safety officials need legitimate radio communications would not necessarily be jammed. But again, we sort of are ultimately going to defer to the particular geography and layout of prisons for those officials to figure out how do we achieve our end without compromising our own ability to continue to communicate.
And I'm just going to add a word on that as well. Sure. Because I've been working on this issue for 8 years now, and this is a concern I've heard repeatedly. Technology has improved a lot, just like the phones you have or your cars, your connected appliances. The same is true with this technology as well. And then the proof of the pudding is in the eating with the professionals here with us. You've got Jonathan Scott representing sheriffs. You've got Brandy representing correctional officers. You've got Dexter and Lindsay representing correctional managers. And they all want this technology. They want this technology and they know it's feasible and it's not going to block their cell phone. It's not going to block emergency communication. So the proof of the pudding is really in the eating, that the professionals who know the most and who are going to be using this technology are the ones who've been asking for it the longest.
Yes, ma'am.
There's some mention of flexibility, and is the goal to kind of try and do this at every prison and jail in Arkansas, or just prisons?
Let me say something. So my understanding, he's the chairman, obviously. I'm not on the FCC, but
There's room, you can come on out.
yeah, I'm gonna let you handle that one. But it's my understanding, talking to the chairman and having our discussion, that to be clear, what the FCC is really doing, they're not dictating how to do this. They are removing activity out of the term authorized, right? And so they're basically getting out of the way because it's no longer something that they're authorizing, right? Contraband cell phone communications will not be authorized. That's genius. It shouldn't be, right? So that's going to be moved out of the way. So what they're doing is they're just saying, this isn't authorized. Y'all deal with this. And these folks back here who know a lot more about the problem, because it's their problem day to day in the prison. It's our problem outside the prison. But they know what to do. And if a jail says, not a problem here, they may say at a county jail level, we don't really need to deal with this. The next jail, maybe the one here, which is much bigger in Pulaski County, they may say, we really need this. So I think the flexibility is built into the solution.
What they're doing is removing federal barriers and actually empowering state and local governments to make the best decision, which is how it's supposed to work. And so that's exactly what we're getting to see through their leadership, is opening up and removing those barriers so that we can not have to have a one-size-fits-all, but each individual entity will be able to make that decision about what's appropriate and what's most needed.
Are there certain systems that Arkansas is looking into or considering for this technology?
Not yet.
At this point.
One more question. Yes, ma'am.
This might be a question for Secretary Wallace, if that's all right. I know that there's been a lot of, that there was some discussion at last month's meeting about gang-related violence within the prisons, and we were just talking about how the cell phones are involved in gang activity within the prisons. Has there been any correlation between increases in gang activity within the prisons and the number of cell phones being confiscated?
Yes, if the governor, if you want to talk about that, that's great, but I want to read this from Dexter Payne from earlier in the year. Let me just summarize this for you. So this is a memo he wrote me, or wrote, that I benefited from as I prepared to go to your press conference, Senator. Basically, they did a survey over all the prison to see who's been having these cell phones. They're the worst of the worst. It says, quote, "We look back over several years and identified 230 leaders currently incarcerated, mostly administratively segregated at maximum security facilities across the state. These leaders are doing between 20 years to life in prison, have lengthy, violent criminal records, also, along with numerous violations while being incarcerated, ranging from disobeying direct orders to assault and battery. These 230 inmates are from all the known threat groups, including Bloods, Crips, Aryan Circle, White Aryan Resistance, along with our largest group, Gangster Disciples. We determined that these 230 inmates have been caught and found guilty of the multiple possession of a cell phone 308 times for a total of 538 incidents." So, yes, the worst people in prison, the most dangerous, the people who are most likely to hurt you and me and our community are the biggest violators with regard to contraband cell phones, and are the biggest problem. That's foundational. If anybody else, you said it, but if anybody, I mean, it is what it is.
It's in every jail.
It's everywhere.
These are people who don't like to follow the rules.
Yeah, they're not, yeah, they've got a long. So, thank y'all so much. I appreciate it, you being here, and we appreciate the chairman being here, the senator, the governor, certainly. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, so you're watching live there, Little Rock, Arkansas, as the Attorney General, Tim Griffin, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, along with other officials, FCC Chairman, holding a joint press conference there, again, in Little Rock, Arkansas. All right, so we want to take a step back, take a break, a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes, I promise, here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. We are approaching the top of the hour, and we are continuing to keep our eye on this. Take a look at this. This is the crash there on I-85 South that I'm checking my notes. We first brought this to you at 1:25. It is now 3 o'clock and still backed up for sure. It looks like they got the semi off the road. When we got there were emergency crews, and it looks like like the DOT traffic folks there on the road. So it looks like they may still just be investigating, trying to clear some things out. James, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this at all.
Yeah, what I can put up on the screen right now, this is the closest DOT camera we have. We don't control it. They control it over at the NC DOT command center, and you can see that they're kind of moving it around right now. So if you bear with us, we'll bear with them. But we can see that traffic gets down to only 2 left lanes, and here comes the crash. If we can manage to get a glimpse of it, I think they overshot it.
Yeah.
But like you said, there are some tractor trailers that were involved in a crash that they're working to clear.
Better news, because there were just 1 lane open. Now there's 2 lanes, so they're eventually getting the ball rolling. Again, you're talking about semi trucks, so it takes a lot. So again, that's a look at the backup. The accident happening near mile marker 40 again on I-85 South. It is a mess. So if you are looking at this at home, at work, you might want to find a different route or just be patient. We'll continue to keep our eye on this. Let's take a check on the forecast. It's a beautiful day outside. It's going to be a warmer weekend. Let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and let me tell you, it's going to be beautiful today. I'm talking about plenty of sunshine, but those temperatures are going to feel very summer-like with daytime highs climbing back into the 90s. With that added humidity at times, it's going to feel right around 95 degrees, and we do have a small chance for a stray pop-up shower or storm, but those scattered rain showers and storms, they will increase as we're heading into tomorrow, especially for the later half of the day on Saturday. By Sunday, a strong cold front sweeps across the Carolinas, and back behind it, it brings in cooler air, which means our daytime highs on Sunday, they'll only rise into the upper 70s. If you have plans for the rest of your Friday, this is how the day plans out. It's going to be nice, sunny skies for most of us, and again, a small chance for a pop-up shower or storm, and any of those storms that could develop would likely happen in the mountain locations later in the day. But if you're out there in Banner Elk, talk about a beautiful start to your Friday. 75 degrees this afternoon, very comfortable and blowing rock as well. As we're looking towards the foothills, we had a lot of fog this morning, but by this point, everything is really mixing out very nicely. 86 for your high today in Hickory, 87 for Morganton, and then right around Charlotte, plan for 92 degrees for our high, 92 in Lincolnton as well. Statesville, upper 80s today. With that added humidity, feeling like we're back into the upper 80s and low 90-degree temperatures for that area. If you're picking up the kids after school today, it's going to be a warm one with temperatures back into the upper 80s, low 90s, but with the added humidity, remember, a few degrees warmer. Could be a good afternoon to send them outside to play, or if they have any after-school sports activities, make sure they're prepared for that heat and humidity. Isolated chances for a pop-up shower or storm today, becoming much more scattered in nature for tomorrow, though. I do want to touch on this, though, because the Storm Prediction Center has this area highlighted in orange, meaning that there is a medium level risk for severe weather outside of our viewing area. However, parts of the mountain locations, we do have that low end risk today. That means if one of those storms does decide to develop later on today in the mountains, it could quickly become strong to severe. So with that, watch for a brief heavy downpour, gusty winds, frequent lightning, and it is going to be very isolated, meaning not everyone will actually see it. Here's our futurecast. This is what radar could look like. Now showing the possibility again of that passing shower or storm later on in the day today, and then kind of breaking on apart as we're heading into Saturday. Saturday morning starts out beautiful with sunny skies ahead, and then for the later half of our Saturday, if you have anything planned, just make sure you're aware that the possibility of some active weather, it's a bit more likely. Coverage is going to be about 50%, so meaning at least 50% of our viewing area going to get some scattered rain showers, possibly a thunderstorm or two, so could be a little bit inconvenient if you have any plans. Now, it's going to be beautiful tomorrow. I know many of you're going to want to be out on some water, cooling down, because it is going to be a hot one, but make sure you are aware that later on in the day, we could have some stormy weather. Cold front again swinging on through as we head through Saturday night and into Sunday. That's going to drop those temperatures. I mean, look at this. This is over the next 10 days, 2 back-to-back days into the 90s. By Sunday, upper 70s, and that trend will continue into early next week. So if you're looking for more fall fall-like conditions, it's on the way. Not quite, but it's surely getting close. 92 today. Get outside and enjoy it, especially if you like that heat and humidity. Today's the day for that. Overnight lows tonight dipping down into the low 70s, and then by tomorrow, 90 degrees with those passing showers and thunderstorms. Stay close to the WCNC weather team. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest throughout the weekend.
All right, so it looks to be a warm weekend, albeit might be the last bit of 90s that we may see as we head into the beginning stages of September. We do have some Georgia representatives speaking right now. We do believe at the Seat House in Georgia. They're discussing, I do believe, a couple of things in terms of the economy and the disparity between wealth between obviously the upper class and lower class individuals. So let's go to this right now as we learn more with you as this is happening right now.
Every Georgia Republican with a conscience to resist this federal overreach. Remember, your back and your knee cannot bend unless you bend it to fascism, racism, authoritarianism, sexism, disguised as patriotism, and religion. Stop the deployment. This is not Nazi Germany nor Stalin Russia. This is supposed to be America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and right now, freedom is looking a little thin. This is Georgia, where we once prided ourselves on fierce independence, states' rights, local control, not federal servitude. If we refuse to bow to tyranny now, then let's stand together and ensure Georgia remains a beacon of democracy in the age of rising darkness. History is watching. Our children, our grandchildren are listening. Let us not falter, nor be hoodwinked, led astray, or bamboozled. D.C. today, Chicago and New Orleans tomorrow, Atlanta next. Let us stand together, shoulder to shoulder, and declare one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America. God bless the USA. I will now bring you to Representative Derrick Jackson.
I stand before you alongside my colleagues, fellow military veterans, to address a matter of profound constitutional and moral importance. We are witnessing a troubling overreach of federal power.
All right, folks, we have an ongoing situation right now. It's sentencing into a convicted murderer. This woman, Megan Boswell, is set to be sentenced today. This is happening in Sullivan County. And she was found guilty in February of murdering her daughter, Evelyn Boswell. You may have heard of this. The jury recommended a sentence of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 51 years. So we're going to hear more. I'm assuming in these proceedings we'll learn more about her sentencing. And then in the coming moments, obviously learn how long she could be sentenced as well. We'll go to this right now.
Well, what I prefer her to do is appear by Zoom if she can, but if not, yes, we'll do it. Okay. All right. All right, that's all.
All right, folks, losing our shot there from WBIR. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. I promise we'll be back right after this. All right, folks, we are back. We did want to start with this shot here from the White House, as you can see in Washington, D.C. We do have some word from the Oval Office just today that President Donald Trump is set to deliver some sort of announcement, quote unquote, specifically from the Oval Office. It says the president makes an announcement. That's what the Oval Office has sent to the White House press pool. So I would assume this could be a major update, some type of announcement from the Oval Office. We did see him just Tuesday make a big announcement about the relocation of U.S. Space Command's headquarters, moving from Colorado to Alabama, which was a Biden-era change that now the president is now reversing. So it could be anything at this point. Of course, we'll cover it for you. We do, again, believe it'll happen at 4 p.m., thereabouts as well. The president could have other things on his schedule. So we will cover it both here on WCNC and in its entirety on WCNC Plus, if you'd like to maybe switch back and forth between those two options. We have an amazing NFL expert in-house. I've been saying this for years since I've been here, that we should be utilizing Eugene Robinson, not only for his NFL acumen, but just for his experience in knowing the league in and out, how rookies have had to deal with certain issues, and the man is just a wealth of knowledge and knows more positions than I can count. So he discussed some things ahead of the Panthers season opener in Duval County down in Jacksonville with our Knicks tournament. We'll go to this conversation right now.
Look, hey, man, Jacksonville Jaguars, we're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. We actually got some good luck against the Jacksonville Jaguars. What are you expecting as far as their let's talk about defense first, because they have Travis Hunter. They gave away a haul for Travis Hunter, a guy who's expected to play both ways, but we know him from corner. What are you expecting to see from the Jacksonville Jaguars defense?
The reason why they picked up Travis Hunter is because defensively, if you look at against the rush, they had 130. They gave 132 yards rushing. Against the pass, 257. Right? They couldn't stop. Really, they couldn't stop people. 43% on third down efficiency. So they're not really getting off the field quickly. All right. Yeah. They're getting off the field almost half the time from that standpoint of a third down situation. So I see why they got Travis Hunter, because they got on the back end getting torched. Yeah. Now, in my opinion, he's a shutdown corner. He's a Darrelle Revis. He's a Deion Sanders. That dude can cover.
You think so?
That dude right there can cover. Okay. He's like uncanny. Like, I don't think I'm like, dude, I think they're going to outrun him, but they don't outrun him. I'm like, dude, he has a way of sticking with you. And so I think he's a good corner and a great pickup. But defensively, I think there's just holes. You got the corner is not going to come up and stop the run. Yeah. They're going to stop the pass. Primarily, that's what they got to for stopping the pass. And so I think defensively, that defense, man, Bryce Young should be able to exploit that defense. Exploit that defense big time. They only had 6 interceptions last year. 6 interceptions. The takeaways weren't there. Right. Maybe make 32 sacks, 34 sacks around there. But that was like the only thing that was happening when you went against the Jaguars. It was like, defensively, you didn't know if they were going to hold up, and they did.
Okay, so let's talk about the opposite side of the ball, the offense, Jaguars offense. So they're going against a defense in the Carolina Panthers that I looked at the rankings and I regret I looked at them, because Panthers are ranked at
we
the
were
bottom.
32. We're bottom of the bottom.
Yeah, bottom. Can that Panthers defense shut down Trevor Lawrence, a guy who still we're waiting for that guy to prove that he is that guy?
Absolutely, and this is the reason why. Most people forget that last year, 2 of our major players weren't on the field at the same time. Derek Brown, defensive tackle, beast. 3 technique, 1 technique. He gonna shut. You gotta have 2 people block him. All right, and then DJ Wonnum, that little edge rusher, but he had about almost 10 sacks towards the end, and he came in the middle of the season. Those 2 guys weren't on the field at the same time. Now you go get Brown, you go get Wharton, you got some other guys. We got Ashawn Robinson. That defensive front, that big defensive front just got better. just got better. Our defensive front got better. So from the standpoint, I'm like, this is a retooled defensive front. It ain't the same. And them dudes going to be able to stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to make that back end of our secondary even better. Don't forget, you got J.C. Horn Jackson, a guy who I like. You got Morick, who came over from the Raiders.
I like him a lot.
There's another guy, Damani Richardson, who's in the background, who I absolutely love. He's another safety that dude needs to be on the field. But that's just me right there. So from that standpoint, you've got guys here. The only thing we didn't talk about was the linebackers. What's linebackers? Is Wallace going to show up? Well, with that defensive front in front of you, you should be able to make a lot of tackles because they're going to be able to hold up on that offensive line. And that's what we're looking at. And don't forget, I know what you're talking about, the quarterback for the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. He had 3 different coaches, man. He has how many in 5 years? 3 different coaches. He's learning how many systems he has to learn. That's what Bryce was doing. You can't have the coach continue to learn stuff. I mean, the quarterback, because guess what he has to do? He has to worry about vernacular, communication. How do we say this? Do we say it like this? Is it 34 X pass, widescreen, 7 dump? You got to do all that stuff because you got a new system to learn. So now you got Trevor Lawrence, who is a veteran, worried about learning what the plays are, what the plays are called, and what everybody knows, as opposed to being Trevor Lawrence playing football.
I think the Panthers' strong front on defense is the defensive line, but it's kind of flipped because for the last several years, linebacker group has been awesome, and secondary has struggled. But this year, the secondary is, on paper, pretty good, and we still have questions about our linebacker group.
Absolutely. That's where I think that, I mean, we picked up an edge rusher / linebacker on that one is Scorton. So we picked up Scorton, and he's supposed to fit in, be that guy. We run a 3-4 system.
All right, everyone. We have White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller speaking. We're going to take this live right now.
That we get a hybrid, but right now we run a 3.
The most extraordinary round in American history. During the Biden administration, we saw 0 net job gains for American workers in 4 years, which is an economic depression for American workers. It's an actual depression. Since President Trump has came into office, 100% of job gains have gone to American workers, as millions of foreign workers who are here illegally have left the country. So this is the biggest economic turnaround in American history. On top of that, you have $4 trillion from the CBO. It's going to be much more than that coming into the Treasury from the tariffs, the historic trade policy. You have well over $15 trillion of pledged foreign investment coming into the country to revitalize the economy, and you have the passage of the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. So we are living through the most successful, extraordinary economic revival. You see car plants coming in, you see steel plants coming in, you see manufacturing plants coming in. You're going to see all these critical industries, pharmaceuticals, chips, semiconductors, reshoring. It is truly the great American revival that President Trump has unleashed. And of course, we're also going to,
how do you account for that? I mean, the job
we have
performance
seen,
is not what you expected.
we have seen the most extraordinary job growth for American workers and American citizens that we've seen in recent history, coming off a period of 4 years where every single job went to a foreign worker. Foreign workers are now leaving the economy. American workers are getting all the benefits. And of course, we have larger issues to deal with, the integrity of BLS that President Trump has spoken about. And we're going to get that fixed, and we're going to get honest and accurate jobs numbers. Next question. Yes, sorry. Yes. Yep.
Can you respond to the Washington, D.C. trend suing the Trump administration over the national guard?
Well, I think the important thing is, you know, the D.C. Attorney General's office is a separate office. It's not part of the mayor's office. Not many people may realize that in Washington, D.C., that the Attorney General operates completely separate from the mayor's office, and which is an unusual setup because typically, you know, the mayor would control the full administration of the justice authority within her city. The mayor's office, as you know, issued an executive order requiring long-term cooperation between the city and the federal government. And that's what President Trump has asked for from the beginning. He said that we want cities that want our help to formally seek it out and request it. And so the mayor, to her credit, she signed an executive order creating the framework for that long-term cooperation, and now as a result of that executive order, the federal law enforcement assets, the National Guard assets, and the full federal apparatus will be able to work with the city to deliver this extraordinary public safety improvement for the long term. And you're only seeing the very beginnings of this. So, you know, during the first few weeks, of course, we've seen these radical reductions in violent crime. We're just getting started. DEA, ATF, FBI, have only just begun to identify, disrupt, and dismantle the criminal organizations that have been wreaking havoc on this city for so long. And we're going to take them apart, member by member, group by group, piece by piece, and we're going to set this city free. I have time for one last question.
Even on immigration, could I ask you on immigration? Could I ask you on immigration?
And the Democrats' attempt to drive a wedge between President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, their attempt to do that at yesterday's CDC hearing.
Yeah, the Democrats are continuing to support a completely failed approach to public health that we've seen over generations has resulted in chronic increases in obesity, in diabetes, in heart health, and just in general, the chronic disease burden on America has been extraordinary. It is the #1 driver of public health costs, and it's the #1 driver of early deaths. And of course, in particular, especially tragic has been the early childhood chronic disease burden. You know, so, as this is a parent of young children, there's so many kids you know who have allergies, who have asthma, who have skin conditions, you know, for example, psoriasis or eczema, who have all kinds of chronic digestive issues, gut issues. There's so many health issues. Not to mention, of course, the particularly terrifying illnesses like pediatric cancer. And so President Trump and RFK are working on getting to the systemic causes. What is our environment? What is in our approach to healthcare? What is in our approach to medicine that is either failing to address or is contributing to this chronic disease burden? And we all celebrate RFK, Bobby, for his leadership in this issue, and President Trump has been committed from the beginning to developing a comprehensive approach to reducing chronic illness in America. Time for one last question.
Sir, can I ask you about immigration, sir? Could I ask you?
On Venezuela, President of Colombia is saying that Cartel of the Suns does not exist. What can you answer, and which message do you send to people in Venezuela after this indictment of Nicolas Maduro?
Well, as you know, and thank you for bringing it up, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker. He's indicted in federal court. He is a fugitive from justice in America. As I think you're also aware, there's a $50 million reward for the return of Nicolas Maduro. Not just him, his henchmen have also been indicted. So it is a drug cartel that is running Venezuela. This is a very important point. It is not a government, it is a drug cartel, a narco-trafficking organization that is running Venezuela. And this has been documented in federal court, and indictments have been secured. The people of Venezuela have been suffering and struggling under the reality of a nation that is so rich in resources, so rich in reserves, that is run by Maduro, the head of the cartel that you referenced, the Cartel de los Sols. That is absolutely one of the most ruthless criminal cartels on the planet. And many Americans may not realize that the drugs killing their kids are coming from Maduro, and also the criminal aliens killing their kids are coming from Maduro. So he's sending his drugs, he is sending his killers, his assassins into our communities, and he's working directly with other designated foreign terrorist organizations like the FARC in Colombia and all the Mexican drug cartels. So it's one continuous loop. For decades and for years, for generations, we used our military to engage in action against terrorists in the Middle East and in Africa, while leaving unharmed the terrorists in our own hemisphere who are responsible for so much more American deaths, so many more American deaths, who have spilled so much blood across the Western Hemisphere, who have bereaved so many parents and families, and who have contributed to such a horrific cycle and just nonstop, relentless surge of violence in our cities. Every major city in America is suffering from cartel violence. Even the U.S.-based gangs are working directly with these cartels. The drugs, the guns, the weapons, the cash, the organization. We've been occupied by cartels for far too long. President Trump is finally allowing and directing the United States military to use its authorities under the Constitution to defend America from the terrorist organizations that have run free for too long in our own hemisphere. Thank you all. Thank you for the question.
What about Chicago? Are you sending ICE operations there today?
Have they started yet, sir? ICE in Chicago.
All right. Seems like the comments here from the White House have ended. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back after this. All right, we are back, everyone, for a 2-minute break like we promised. We were just in the middle of a discussion between Eugene and Nick Sturdivant talking about the upcoming game with Carolina and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll go back to this right now.
System on first down. That's 3 defensive linemen in your face, and then you have 2 linebackers on the outside. The 2 linebackers on the outside is DJ Wanham, and I believe it's going to be Scorton. Maybe Scorton. I'm not sure who's going to have a. But that group, they're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They're going to be able to put a lot of pressure. And if they hold their edges that we didn't do in the first preseason game, but we did it in the second preseason game, if we are about holding our edges, you watch out, man. Our linebackers are going to have a lot of tackles.
I'm excited. Year 2 with the same DC Evero.
Yep.
So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back here. More Panthers talk. Eugene Robinson, myself. Carlene is also here. She's silently rooting for the Panthers. So we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, welcome back here. Talking about Panthers, first game of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm here with Eugene Robinson, breaking everything down. We talked about the offense. We talked about the defense. I want to get to some quick hitters, man.
Okay, cool.
All right, we'll start with this. X factors for Week 1 against the Jags. What's your X factor for the game?
So I'm looking to see how J.C. Horn, how does he do against Travis Hunter or B. Thomas Jr.? Because B. Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars, he has
a problem.
He's a problem. He got 10. He had over 1,200 yards. He got 10 touchdowns. I mean, he's a problem. So when we go man to man, I'm looking to see how does Jackson and how does J.C. Horn hold up against Travis Hunter and B. Thomas.
Okay, all right. 3 keys for Panthers win. 3 keys. Let me get 3 keys.
So Bryce to be spectacular. I need my receivers to catch the ball, no drops. I need you to catch the rock and get that positive yards afterwards. And then offensive line, if you protect and you block, watch out. Watch out.
Just in that, as a former safety, Week 1, what's Week 1 like? And what's your message to your teammates? What was the message for your teammates Week 1?
My message is like that nervous butterfly feel that you feel as you're getting ready to run out on a kickoff or punt return, doing something for the first time. That's not butterflies. That's your system telling you that you about to do something special. So I always tell my guys, hey, you about to do something special. So the butterflies you feel, it's not because you're scared. It's because something great's about to happen.
Oh, man. All right. So I got one more. So who's the guy or guys that maybe that don't have the big name for the Panthers, but you expect big things from them in Week 1?
DJ Wanham.
Okay.
Thornton played well in the preseason. I'm hoping he's out there too, because if he's out there in the secondary, he's a guy that he can cover. The dude can flat out cover. I like Thornton. And then we got to continue to talk about Christensen, because when Brady's in the mix right there, he can play any one of those spots. So a guy we haven't talked about who's going to be crucial is going to be Brady Christensen.
I got a question, and this is off the list. We hit those quick hitters. Can Mike Jackson, number 2 cornerback, can he legit be a number 2 cornerback for the Panthers?
Absolutely. He could be a number 2, but there's a guy waiting in the wings to be a number 2, and that's Thornton.
You think so?
Man, that dude can cover.
He played well during the preseason, but it looks different from the preseason to the regular season. I'm just saying.
I know, exactly. But don't forget this. Most people forget that when we think about all these players that they come in, they were super-duper stars in college in their own right. So if they were going against Travis Hunter in college, they were going like this, hey, you got Travis, man. I'm gonna match you up. He thinks that way. He thinks that I'm one of the best guys out here, even though he has having the opportunity to be there. And I'm telling you, when you think that and you play like that, guys that you'll know that you did in preseason, he played extremely well because he thinks that way. So I'm telling you, Thornton, you better watch out because he can take somebody's job now.
Look, Eugene Robinson might take somebody's job.
No, I can't play no more, dude.
You sure you can't play no more?
Nigga, I can't get down no more, man.
You don't have that itch to throw the pass?
No, I'm domesticated, baby. I'm watching TV, some popcorn, some peanuts. I'll holler at you, dude.
Hey, don't worry. Eugene's not going to play for the Panthers.
No, you know I'm not.
But he's going to be here every week with myself and Carlene talking about the Panthers, every Thursday. We have it live here doing Live Impact News, but 9 o'clock every Thursday on WCNC Plus. You can watch Eugene, myself. We still got to figure out a name. We're workshopping the name for the show. It's just week one.
Any suggestions, Eugene?
Brothers with bald heads.
Brothers with bald heads talk Panthers. There we go.
Brothers with bald heads talking about the Panthers.
I love it, Eugene. We'll do this next week, my brother. Thank you.
All right, dog. You take care.
All right, man. Again, tune in every Thursday this season at 9 p.m. only here on WCNC Plus.
All right, guys. So a great interview. As you heard, we're going to have that for you. We have actually Mondays and I do believe Thursday nights throughout the season. We're going to have these conversations. Nick Carboni, our entire sports team, and obviously Eugene Robinson and Nick Sturtevant going to have conversations as well. You're looking at a crash that is has just been cleared. We got word of from NCDOT here that I-85 here, the South Mile Marker 40, exit 40, which is Graham Street, is now moving along, albeit very slowly on this Friday. This could, though, impact the afternoon commute, obviously. 85, as many of you know, here in Charlotte, has a tendency to jam up, especially headed into a weekend like this one. I know Labor Day obviously was just last week, but a lot of folks did work today, obviously with a short week. You can expect, obviously, some issues. You can see on the Trimark board there, or we used to call that, I guess, in Ohio, Trimark, but that on the NCDOT board, the crash is 4 miles ahead. 2 right lanes are still going to be impacted, but they are, again, clearing the situation up. So we should get more information and a better view from this in the next couple of minutes. We'll come back in about 2 minutes. We'll see you after this break. This shot again from I-85 here as we hit the air here on WCNC Plus inside the Impact studio. We're ramping up for our month-long coverage of Hurricane Helene as we're just about to approach the 1-year mark. Obviously an anniversary, or not an anniversary, but a commemoration that nobody wants to think about in totality, obviously, with so many lives lost, so many structures and so much damage that we saw. But we are going to mark it throughout the month, highlighting so many different things. things. And speaking of, I do believe Governor Stein will be in the area when we do begin our intense coverage of that week when Hurricane Helene actually hit. But today, Stein was speaking at a different place, albeit, I believe, closer to the North Carolina coast, and some fun things situated behind him. But let's go to this right now as he had a press conference earlier today.
North Carolina! Good afternoon, everyone. Kirk, thank you for the introduction. Thank you and Artis for your leadership of this most important organization. A year ago, I was with you all, actually a year ago, 2 days from now, I was with you all as we readied for the election in November. Well, with your help, we got it done. We won by 15 points. And at this point, I've been serving as your governor for about 8 months now. It is an incredible honor. And I got to tell you, my biggest takeaway is that I love this job. I want to thank you for your support. I'm pleased to see some members of my cabinet and some members of the Council of State will be joining you all later today. Particularly grateful to see Stacey Meyer, the Director of the Office of State Human Resources. She is working tirelessly, as are we all, to make state government hiring easier, faster, and better. The work that I want to give the greatest praise to is yours. You North Carolina State employees, I want to thank you for all that you do. You help to make North Carolina a welcoming place where people want to live, work, and raise their families. You push our state forward every day. You power our government in so many ways. You serve the people of our state. I've been working in state government myself for 25 years now, and I'm married to another former longtime state employee. I know the sacrifices you make and the commitment that you bring to your work. Every day, I am proud to work alongside each of you. Thank you for what you do. As I look around this room and all these great people, I see determined, resilient, public-spirited individuals. That is true for anyone who chooses to spend their career in service. It was especially evident in Western North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene. If you are a scenic member who traveled from the West, or you're a scenic member whose work brought you to Western North Carolina to help with the recovery, would you please stand for us all? I know that Hurricane Helene wreaked havoc on so many of you, on your work, your lives, and in whatever way the storm impacted you, my heart goes out to you. But without missing a beat, you all got back to work immediately to serve others. You put your own needs behind you in order to put ahead and prioritize other people. No matter the role you played, whether you were in the field or you're in the office, whether you're focused on building back or moving forward, thank you. Thank you for what you do. As you keep doing that work, please know that I am in your corner and I'm advocating for you in the work that you do. I've been pleased to work on a bipartisan basis with the General Assembly to sign 2 Hurricane Helene relief bills into law totaling more than $1 billion in economic relief. It's a strong start, but it's only a start. We have much more work to do. I am calling on the General Assembly, and especially the United States Congress, to increase their investment in hurricane recovery relief for Western North Carolina. I am also calling on our legislature to pass a meaningful raise for all state employees. The legislature has passed a number of bills, some good that I signed and some bad that I vetoed. But there is only one bill that the legislature absolutely needs to pass each year, the most important bill, and that is the budget bill. They have not done the job that we count on them to do. I'm asking them, come back to town, pass a fiscally responsible budget, and give a raise to all of our hardworking state employees. Right now, we're experiencing about a 20% vacancy rate throughout state government. In some agencies, Health and Human Services and Adult Corrections, they are experiencing even higher vacancy rates. It is unacceptable. Before COVID, the state average vacancy rate was 12.5%. 5 years after the pandemic hit, we are still understaffed and you are still overworked. Look, if we don't pay you all what you're worth, how are we supposed to make the case to others that the state is where they should come and work? A place where they should pursue a career. That means we have to elevate what it means to work in state government with greater pay and greater respect. Our quality of life, it's a complicated thing. Of course, your job title and your take-home pay is an important part of that, but it's not all. It's also about the bills that you have to pay. Housing, childcare, electricity, healthcare costs are all going up much too quickly. Raise your hand if you've got a young child or a young grandchild. Right now, we only have one child care slot for every 5 families that need one. And if people can find it, they then have challenging times to afford it. These slots can cost more for an infant than it costs to go to UNC Chapel Hill for annual tuition. We've got to make child care more accessible and more affordable. I'm calling on the legislature to fund child care subsidies so that kids can be safely cared for and learn while their parents work or do whatever it is they need to do. I'm also calling for 1,000 more pre-K slots in the Department of Health and Human Services so that kids show up to kindergarten ready to learn. I want to talk a moment about housing. Too many people cannot live in the communities where they work. Amen. In some ways, we're victims of our own successes here in North Carolina. We've experienced impressive growth in recent years. We've been ranked the top state for business 3 out of the past 4 years. It's no surprise that a lot of people want to move here. In fact, North Carolina is the 3rd fastest growing state in this country. You know, there's this saying that if you build it, they will come. Turns out in North Carolina, if you don't build it, they will still come. We need more homes. It is that simple. Increasing the overall housing supply will ensure that housing remains more affordable for all people. On health care, I am concerned about the increase in premiums on the state health plan. We've got to focus on lowering the cost of health care in North Carolina. And I'm proud to say that I signed a bipartisan bill in July that, among other things, that ensures that if the cost of a prescription drug goes down, those savings go to you, the patient, and not to some middleman. These are uncertain times in healthcare. The reconciliation law that the administration signed, the Congress passed, slashed Medicaid by $1 trillion to pay for tax cuts for very wealthy people, and it will add $3.4 trillion to the national debt. This cut to Medicaid will cost North Carolina's Medicaid system $50 billion over the next decade. They cannot take that kind of money out of our healthcare system without there being real damage inflicted. Regarding our power bills, Washington and Raleigh have passed laws, and Raleigh, over my veto, laws that are going to raise the cost of electricity at a time when prices are already rising. We need an all-of-the-above strategy when it comes to energy production that includes the cheapest forms of electricity to produce, which are solar and wind. I understand folks are feeling the financial pinch from inflation, and I am going to continue to use every tool at my disposal to keep prices down so that we can make North Carolina a state where people can afford to thrive. We have challenges, but there's not a person in this room who, like me, loves North Carolina. Everyone, if you love North Carolina, raise your hand. Our charge as state employees is to make this great state even better. And I'm confident with your continued excellent service to our state that we will achieve that goal. You are the people, seen and unseen, who make the magic happen. So let's keep it up. Let's keep serving the people of North Carolina. Let's keep delivering for the people of North Carolina. And let's keep building a North Carolina that is safer, stronger, more prosperous, with real opportunity for every person. Thank you for having me today, and thank you for what each of you does for the state of North Carolina.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be back right here on WCNC Plus after this. All right, folks, we are back. Hey, Morganton, they're going to have a festival, and I'm sure all things fall as we're headed right into September. A lot of folks are going to be looking forward to that, and the leaves changing as well. We'll go to this and learn more about Morganton and the festival they're going to have.
And one of those great ways is the Morganton Festival, coming up on 43 years. Ed Phillips here now from the Morganton Festival. I haven't been yet, Ed, but I hear it is an amazing event that takes place, that you can enjoy so much of Mother Nature and the mountainous area of Morganton. How you doing? Thanks for coming in.
Doing great. Nice drive down from Morganton this morning. It's about an hour and 20 minutes.
No traffic at least?
Oh, there's always traffic coming into Charlotte.
Yeah.
It was nice though.
A little bit. And you're all decked out. I love the fit.
Thank you.
By the way, yeah, looking fresh as we bring in the festivities of the Morganton Festival. If you had to give me your elevator pitch on why I should go check out this festival, what would it be?
So if we're going to elevator pitch from the bottom floor to the top of the Empire State Building. We got a little bit of time, but I'm going to tell you, so the festival, this is our 43rd annual. It starts Friday at 12 noon. We have free admission to the festival itself. There's over a mile-long crafts section on various roads in downtown Morganton. A kids zone with rides and games. We also have incredible live music. Everything is free. There is a small fee for kids zone rides, and you buy your tickets like you would at any carnival or fair. But great music coming up downtown on the square with Jack Wharf Band, who's a North Carolina-based bluegrass country rock band on Friday. And then also Chapel Hart. They're going to be there. They're our headliner tomorrow night. They're a Mississippi Roots band. A finalist on America's Got Talent. They've been honored with the Next Women of Country, featured in People magazine, Rolling Stone, and Parade magazine. If you haven't seen this group, they're incredible. Chapel Hart. And then that's Friday. Saturday, festival opens at 9 a.m. Lots of crafts, street food. My favorite is always the chicken on a stick.
Love chicken on a
stick. The Asian style. Live music on Saturday starts at 6:30 in the evening with the Phoebes, which is a North Carolina-based rock and blues band with a debut album coming out soon. So they haven't had an album out, but it's coming out soon. And then the big act, Saturday night, 8:30, Vegas McGraw. If you haven't heard of Vegas McGraw, he's a Tim McGraw tribute band.
I was going to say, I know Tim McGraw.
Covering all of Tim's classic hits. And Vegas has opened in the past for Taylor Swift, Trace Adkins, Eric Church, and many other superstars in the country music world.
So impressive. So Ed, I mean, really over 43 years, right? We probably couldn't imagine the growth since this started, and it's gotten, it seems like, bigger and better every year.
Bigger and better and beautiful downtown Morganton. We're in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, just off of Interstate 40. Some people driving into town look up and they can see Table Rock up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so Table Rock and the Pisgah National Forest, state parks is all part of our destination, which is nature's playground and the beautiful outdoors. But there's all kinds of fun things to do there. Lake James is a beautiful mountain lake there. But the festival is a highlight this weekend, Friday and Saturday, with a lot of live entertainment, just a lot of fun, a lot of great food, arts and crafts, like I said, a mile long, combining all the little streets with over 200 vendors selling.
I mean, obviously family friendly, but you can also go there for date night.
Sure. Date night. All the restaurants downtown.
All right, folks, we're going to cut this off just a little bit early because we obviously want to continue to help the excitement go along with the Panthers season opener, obviously, in Jacksonville. There was a one-on-one that Nick Carboni did with T-Mac. A lot of folks looking forward to the receiver connection between Bryce Young and T-Mac. So we'll go to this real quick before we send you to the 4 o'clock news.
Man, draft night was a blur. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like I was a little surprised. But then at the same time, you know, I feel like a lot of people vouch for me in this facility. So, you know, and that just goes to show, you know, how the belief they have in me, you know, just for picking basically opposite of what everybody thought. So just, you know, my job is to, you know, make sure I can prove them right.
Your relationship with Bryce Young started before the draft. Tell me about working out with him, and he was one of the guys that said, hey, bring in T-Mac.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a blessing. You know, I grew up watching him, playing against him. Never got the chance to catch the ball from him, throw it in, work out with him, and then, you know, somehow, some way, you know, we got to work out in Cali a few weeks before the draft. So being able to finally, you know, come full circle, it's a blessing, man, and I'm looking forward to what we can do this year.
And you mentioned in camp, but how important is being quarterback friendly to you in the NFL?
I mean, it's super important. I mean, obviously, in my eyes, you know, quarterback is the hardest position to play in football. So, anything that I can do to make Bryce's job easier, to make Andy's job easier, I'm gonna do that. And you know, at the end of the day, it's about me. You know, gaining their trust, you know, being confident, them being confident in my play and my ability to go up and make a play.
How many of the guys on this roster besides you know what a libero is?
Man, I promise you, not more than people on one hand can tell you what a libero is.
How did volleyball help you as a receiver, if it does?
Oh, you know, I give volleyball a lot of credit to, you know, my successes on the football field, specifically, you know, the body control, you know, just whether on the ground or in the air. You know, being a pogo stick, you know, coming off the ground fast, and then as well as just high pointing the ball, you know, meeting the ball at its highest point, and you know, those are all the things I gotta translate to the football field, so those definitely help me for sure.
What do you know about the Carolina Panthers and their fan base in the couple of months that you've been here, and how bad they want this team to return to that glory they've had?
You know, I don't know too much, but you know, I know we got some diehard fans around here, man, and you know, I'm just looking forward to putting smiles on the people of Charlotte and, you know, light up Bank of America Stadium.
And you start on the road. What do you think is going to be flowing through you before that first NFL game in Jacksonville?
I mean, obviously the nerves. You know, it's going to be my first NFL game. Can never get down my back, so that's going to be a big moment for me. Just take it all in, be grateful, you know, be blessed for every opportunity I get, and you know, hopefully we can come